thank you, Blizzard. We create these games and pour all of our energy and heart into them, but it is you, the Blizzard community, that brings them to life. And that's why BlizzConline is a celebration of you, the guild leaders, healers, DPS, tanks, innkeepers, Zerg, Terran, Protoss, Blackwatch, Shimada, the heroes of Sanctuary and of the Storm. These next few days are for you, our Blizzard community. For World of Warcraft, we'll be showing you what's next for both Shadowlands and Classic. I'm sure you're all burning in anticipation for that one. Hearthstone is getting back to its roots in a major way. We can't wait to show you how. We also have news for our Diablo community. Some of you were able to dip your toes into the depths of hell in the Diablo Immortal Technical Alpha. I really enjoyed seeing players embrace the multiplayer aspect of meeting in town. We can't wait for more of you to get your hands on it. So, it's only the beginning of the year, and already there is so much to look forward to, even though we can't yet be together in person. The Overwatch League will be kicking things off in spring, and we'll be watching closely to see if the San Francisco Shock can continue their championship run. World of Warcraft esports is back with the Arena World Championship and Mythic Dungeon International already in full swing in Shadowlands. StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 esports are going strong with our friends at the ESL Pro Tour. And qualifiers are already underway for the first online stop of the 2021 Hearthstone Masters Tour, with the first event taking place next month. But before we get too far ahead, let's take a look one last time to when times were a little simpler. In the early 1990s, the internet was a baby. CD sales had finally eclipsed cassette tapes. Cassette tape, it's a rectangle piece of plastic, and there's a tape inside, and music would get recorded on, and sometimes you needed a pencil to wind it and make it tight. I know, it sounds crazy. We were all playing video games on Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, DOS, or Mac PCs. I personally was a master of config.sys and AutoExec.bat. So many simple things in simple times. If only we could relive them.
The stage is set. The green flag drops. Let the carnage begin. Holy Toledo! What a collection! Now we're talking. What a play! Crank up the volume! Unbelievable! Whoa!
The Blizzard Arcade Collection, featuring the Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, and Blackthorn. These are ports of the games just as you remember them, allowing you to relive the original experience of all three titles in 13 different languages, with a couple of quality of life upgrades. As an example, we include very modern, cutting-edge functionality that wasn't available in the early 90s, both saving and loading of games. And for those of you who purchased any Blizzard Digital Anniversary Bundle via Battle.net, you'll automatically receive the Blizzard Arcade Collection on PC today. Now, you ready to hear about some other video games? Let's hear what's next for World of Warcraft.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. No matter where you are, World of Warcraft unites us all. Whether you're exploring the Shadowlands, classic Azeroth, or another part of the Blizzard universe, I'm glad you could make it, because we've got a lot of good stuff to show you. But first, let's start with some Covenant pride. Kyrian, take flight. Nightfey, let the hunt begin. Necrolords, to war! Vinther, let's party. The world has thrown a lot at us since the last BlizzCon, and the thing that's really kept everyone going on the WoW team has been connecting with all of you. The bonds we forge with our guilds and family and friends in WoW are powerful and real. As WoW enters its 16th year and Blizzard celebrates its 30th anniversary, we're so grateful to have the most dedicated and friendly communities in gaming. Let's recap the events in Azeroth. In WoW Classic, we fought an endless battle for South Shore and Tauren Mill. We banded together to open the gates of Ahn'Qiraj and joined forces to take down Kel'Thuzad in his floating citadel of Naxxramas. In Shadowlands, we helped our Covenant recover from the Anima drought, brought on by Sire Denathrius, master of the Vinthyr and traitor to the Pantheon of Death. We survived the halls of Torghast and crafted legendary gear in our efforts to expel Denathrius from his castle lair. But innocent souls are still wrongfully being sent to the Maw. They face an eternity of torment, and heroes like Anduin remain chained in its depths. The jailer continues to grow in power. He's preparing to break free from the Maw and complete his plan to unmake the entire Warcraft universe. And Sylvanas, you may be wondering what she's been up to all this time. Today, we're excited to unveil our first major content update for Shadowlands, Chains of Domination.
Look around you!
What makes you believe you're not just a weapon to achieve his ends?
Enough! Join our cause, or be made to serve.
Right now, you hold all the power. Make your choice, Sylvanas Windrunner.
Despite all our efforts, the Maw continues to grow. What if Denathrius' treachery is irreparable? The Primus is lost, and Bastion cannot save the Shadowlands alone.
None of this should have happened.
Perhaps the Winter Queen could...
My Archon, a living soul seeks an audience.
A mortal?
A king. By all our measures, one who has spent his life striving for justice. One who would give anything to serve his people. One whose heart is true.
Very well. He may approach. Step forward. My Ascended have spoken of you. The King held captive in the mall.
That prison could not hold me forever.
Why have you come to Bastion?
You have a key that I need.
You will release this soul from your grasp.
No. He is bound to me.
Just as you once sought to bind your own brother. Vessel performed its part flawlessly. 3 keys remain. Then they will see. Death was never meant to be chained.
That is so intense. I know you probably have a lot of questions about what you just saw and what it means for the next stage of your Shadowlands journey. Later today, my teammates Ian and Jeremy will be telling you more about Chains of Domination in our Shadowlands update. Please check out the World of Warcraft channel to find out more. Next, I'm excited to share our upcoming World of Warcraft charity pet program. We've heard a lot from our community about how much they love these pets and the opportunity to give to a good cause, along with ideas to make the program even better. So during this upcoming campaign, you'll be able to donate whatever amount you wish to directly support our chosen charity. Once donations reach our goal, everyone playing World of Warcraft will get a pet for their collection as a thank you, whether you were able to contribute personally or not. And to make this a fun challenge, if we reach a stretch goal, everyone gets a second pet too. And here they are. The first pet is Bananas, literally. He was originally available to a select few back in Burning Crusade era, so we're excited to give everyone a chance to adopt him. And if we reach our stretch goal, you'll also get Daisy the Sloth. She's an all-new pet who'll hang around your neck when you need a hug. Your donations during this campaign will go to support the medical humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders, also known by their French name, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF. They're an amazing group doing important work around the world. We're grateful to have such a generous community, and we hope you'll help support this worthy cause. We'll be sharing the details about the charity pet program on the World of Warcraft website soon. So we've talked quite a bit about Shadowlands. Classic players, now it's your turn. It's my pleasure to hand off to my teammate, Holly Longdale. She's a longtime WoW player, a veteran MMO developer, and she's going to tell us what's in store for WoW Classic.
Hi, everybody. First, I'd like to thank all of you who have ever been part of the WoW community over the years. You know, online worlds like WoW have been a huge part of our lives for decades now. As a dedicated MMO fan and a developer myself, I remember hearing that Blizzard was going to be making their own MMO. And I thought, well, I guess I'll check out that beta. And sure, we all call the game WoW, but really, wow. I could not believe I got bit by the MMO bug again. I was so excited to be able to make a night elf hunter and be like that famous dark elf ranger from the books that I loved. I have to tell you, Azeroth was, and still is, a place I love to live. Since last year, I've had the great honor to work alongside the WoW Classic team to bring these nostalgic experiences back to life for longtime fans and a whole new generation of players. As a fan myself, I've had so much fun in WoW. From the simple things like drive-by buffing or making friends on that long haul from Teldrassil to Ironforge, all the way to the absolutely staggering, like when I jumped blindly through the Dark Portal and was running through Hellfire Peninsula, heard this terrifying noise, and then saw the Fel Reaver. Biggest roamer I had ever seen, and I was very glad I had feigned death in that moment. And that's the thing about WoW. These stories and experiences we all share keep us coming back time after time. With that said, I'm super excited to be able to share with you where our adventures are taking us next.
You dare enter my realm. Your foolishness has brought you to this end. Take my blood and choke on it.
Death to the outsiders!
I'll turn your world upside down.
You are not prepared.
Brings back so many memories, right? Like exploring the fungal forests of Zangarmarsh, or being awestruck at the chaotic magic alive in Netherstorm, the Draenei in Exodar, the Blood Elves in Silvermoon. I love playing them both. Do you choose to enlist the Aldor or the Scryers in your quest to fight the Legion? And of course, we can't forget gathering all your friends to fight Illidan at the top of the Black Temple. I can't wait to relive it all with you. Since the team first set out on their own quest to bring the original WoW back to life, we have learned a ton about what players are expecting from this kind of experience. We've also learned when to keep things just as they were and where we all might be open to some changes. We're bringing all these lessons into Burning Crusade Classic, with our primary goal to bring back the same feeling you had when you faced the Fel Reaver for the first time, or when you were digging through piles of Felhound poop. Of course, we can't get this right without you, our incredible community. Soon, you'll be able to revisit Outland yourself when beta starts and tell us what you think. Later, all WoW Classic players are going to be presented with a meaningful choice for each one of your beloved characters. Do you want to move on into Burning Crusade Classic? Or do you want to stay in the original Classic era forever? Whatever you decide, you can do it all with your one WoW subscription. Now, I know I've thrown a lot at you, but don't worry. We'll be getting into the details in our panel later today. So stick with us. We'll make sure you are prepared. And now we're going to hear what's coming up in Hearthstone.
Greetings. We're truly excited to share with you everything that's coming to Hearthstone this year. But first, let's take a quick look back at the year of the Phoenix. We added our first new class, the Demon Hunter, and ventured into the ruthless Outlands. Then we went to Skullman's Academy and got to explore dual class cards and their powerful synergies. And with our third expansion of the year, we brought you Hearthstone's biggest update ever, alongside the menacing old gods in Madness at the Dark Moon Fair. We launched a brand new game mode, Duels, that saw more than 10 million matches on its first day. We also introduced our long-awaited achievement system and made a significant overhaul to the rewards and progression within the game. Now, it's time to say farewell to the Year of the Phoenix and see what's in store for Hearthstone this year. Welcome to the Year of the Griffin. Over the last couple of years, we've made big changes to Hearthstone. Throughout the Year of the Griffin, we want to keep delivering fun, new experiences and make sure that the tens of millions of you playing Hearthstone are always excited to log in. First up, we'll be giving the standard format its biggest shakeup ever, with the launch of the Core Set later this year. The Core Set replaces the old Basic and Classic sets with a collection of 235 cards made up of some of the best from throughout the years, as well as 29 awesome brand new cards. And the best thing about the Core Set is that it's entirely free. So there's never been a better time to get into Hearthstone. Here are 3 of Hearthstone's legendary dragons, reimagined to feel more up-to-date and competitive for modern-day Hearthstone. Yassera the Dreamer. You'll finally receive her full arsenal of dream cards right away. She's a nightmare for your opponents. Malygos the Spellweaver. He'll fill your hand with spells and is a powerful late-game play, worthy of the aspect of magic. And finally, everyone's favorite black dragon, Deathwing. He's still as destructive as ever, but timed correctly, he won't leave you empty-handed. We'll also be launching a brand new format, Classic, where you can play Hearthstone as it was when it first launched. The Classic format will be fully supported, complete with ranks and rewards using Hearthstone's original set of cards. So, if you want to relive the old school experience, then Classic is the place for you. With Classic revisiting the past, now let's take a look to the future and explore the first expansion of the Year of the Griffin.
For a hero of the Horde, all roads lead to the crossroads. You have come for adventure, but the Barons wants to break you. Your axe must be sharp. Your wits must be keen. And your heart must be mighty. Strength and honor. This is who we are.
to one of Warcraft's most iconic locales, the Barrens, and we'll come face to face with the heroes that inhabit it, starting with one of the Horde's most iconic and well-known characters, a fierce loyalist, one-time war chief that embodies the honor, loyalty, and spirituality of the Horde, Shadowhunter Vol'jin. Shadowhunter Vol'jin is a neutral legendary that allows you to either bolster your own board or weaken that of your opponents. And to celebrate the announcement of Forged in the Barrens, this card is available for free for everyone later today. So log into Hearthstone and claim your free copy of Shadowhunter Vol'jin. And as a bonus, we're also giving away the brand new 30 Years of Blizzard card back. Next, we have another hero of the Horde who is making his first appearance in Hearthstone. The legendary Blademaster Samuro, featuring the new keyword Frenzy. Frenzy activates the first time a minion takes damage and survives. In Samuro's case, this can be used to clear your opponent's board. Heroes of the Horde, like Samuro, are famous for their combat prowess, but others, like Thrall, are known for their powerful elemental magic. Take a look at this new shaman spell, Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is a spell in a new cycle of cards that rank up and become more powerful when you have 5 and 10 mana, ensuring that they're always useful at every stage in the game. You'll also notice that they're categorized as nature spells. With Forged in the Barrens, we'll be permanently introducing spell schools across the entire game, which enables a whole host of exciting new strategies. And don't worry, members of the Alliance will be featuring some of your most beloved heroes and locales later this year. But what I love most about the Warcraft universe is its amazing characters. And our final announcement is our most ambitious addition to Hearthstone yet. It introduces a brand new way to play with your favorite heroes. Hearthstone Mercenaries. Mercenaries features strategic RPG gameplay, where you build teams consisting of some of the most iconic heroes and villains from the Warcraft universe, including timeless characters like the infamous Sylvanas Windrunner, and Ragnaros, the elemental lord of fire. You can also expect to see some of Hearthstone's fan favorites, like the unstoppable Devilsaur, King Crush, and the ever-growing Gruul the Dragon Slayer. You'll lead them in battle through highly replayable roguelike missions, where the map is randomly generated every time you play, and each node represents a unique challenge for your team to take on. Your heroes gain levels, new abilities, equipment, and can even evolve into more powerful versions of themselves. We're thrilled to finally show you Hearthstone Mercenaries. It is scheduled to launch later this year, and we'll have more to share with you down the road. Everything you've seen today is just a taste of what's coming in the Year of the Griffin. So don't forget to tune in to our deep dive panel after the opening ceremony, where we'll share more details on the core set, the new classic format, Forged in the Barrens, and our plans for Battlegrounds and Duels, as well as our upcoming single-player content. I want to thank the team for their amazing work. And on behalf of all of us at Hearthstone, we want to thank the many millions of you who play our game. Your dedication and support is what drives us to make awesome updates and pursue ambitious and fun ideas. We can't wait to kick off the Year of the Griffin with all of you, and we hope to see you in the game soon. Next up, you'll get an update on all things Diablo.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I am so excited to kick off the Diablo segment of our show, and I am honored to be here on behalf of all of our Diablo teams to share the news and updates we have in store for you today. We've got a lot of Diablo to cover, and I hope you'll agree with me that it's a great time to be a member of this community. All right, let's kick things off with Diablo 4. We first shared our game with you during BlizzCon of 2019, and we've been truly humbled by your response. We've kept in touch through quarterly updates and sincerely appreciate the thoughts and valuable feedback you've provided as we unveil more and more of the game and share in its development. After all, Diablo belongs to you as much as it belongs to us. Most recently, we teased an update to our campfire screen, and savvy fans, of course, understood that we meant more than just the character lighting and fire visual effects. That's right. Today, we're happy to announce a brave new soul joining the barbarian, the sorcerer, and the druid on this dangerous journey back to Sanctuary. A class is one of the most exciting things you can announce in a Diablo game. This one is especially exciting to me, as it's a re-envisioning of one of the first classes to ever appear in the series. Let's have a look.
Your prayers do not fall on deaf ears. Just know they are being heard. There is justice within the light, but you have to be patient. Now, pray with me. May Akarat guide and protect me.
May Akarat guide and protect me.
May he shepherd my soul
May he shepherd my soul.
and grant it mercy.
And grant it mercy.
What are you doing here? This is not the time.
But this is confession. And I have sinned. I was a thief who stole from those more fortunate. I strayed from your light and found my trade in the shadows. They call it murder. I say, job well done. I am a thief, a heretic, a murderer, Father. Will Akarat save me?
You mock our light. But those monsters were a scourge upon my flock. And you were the answer to their prayers.
Then we are settled, and you owe me.
The name you seek is... Thank the heavens for you.
Heavens? I assure you, Father, the heavens didn't send me.
sound of that ear getting pierced by the hook is so brutal. I feel like it's gonna haunt me for a long time. I've been a huge fan of the Rogue ever since the original Diablo. Even seeing them come back as NPCs and mercenaries in Diablo 2's Rogue Encampment served as a great bridge between the games. With the setting of Diablo 4 being a larger world than we've ever played in before, we're excited to show you not just what the successors to the original rogues in the series have been up to since the fall of their order, but also what some of the other rogues in the world of Sanctuary might look like. The mantra for Diablo 4 has been customization first, and the rogue takes this to a whole new level. From the beginning, the rogue has been an incredibly flexible class, able to adapt to any situation. Our goal is to let you create the kind of rogue that you want to play. Whether it's an unrivaled archer modeled after the original Sisterhood, or a cloak and dagger rogue from the darkest alleys of Chaldeum, in Diablo 4, you will have the freedom to create the rogue that you imagine by customizing the looks, the background, and the playstyle of your character. Please stick around for our segment later today, where I'll be joined by other members of the Diablo 4 team to share a closer look at the rogue class, as well as some of the open world gameplay that we're bringing to the game. Spoilers, those severed ears are not just for show. But Diablo 4 is not the only Diablo game we're talking about today. If you're looking for an authentic Diablo experience on mobile, we've got you covered. Diablo Immortal has everything you'd expect from a AAA action RPG. From the visceral combat and epic loot to an all-new story, bridging the gap between the events of Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Later today, you can join the Immortal team, where they'll talk about some of the things they've learned from their recent alpha test and what's next for the game. But that's still not all. We have one last bit of very exciting Diablo news to cover. When you hear us talk about the classes, the items, or the stories of the early Diablo games, you may have picked up on the absolute reverent tone we reserve for that golden era of Diablo. Maybe you share that love of the classics, and just hearing us talk about them makes you want to take on Mephisto or Baal one more time, or maybe even for the first time. After all, some of our favorite moments happened a long time ago, and not just in Sanctuary years. If so, we have a special surprise for you today. Let's check it out.
How was it not yours, a wanderer?
Now you know what I seek, Marius.
Were these the demons from... Don't do it! It seems to observe. I'm not acceptable. What was it after me? Arise, Diablo, Lord of Terror.
Though this be our darkest hour, it may yet be your greatest moment.
After more than 20 years, the Dark Wanderer has returned. And once again, he travels east. Always east. Diablo 2 is a landmark game for Blizzard. Diablo 2 Resurrected is a full HD remaster of both the original game and the expansion, Lord of Destruction. It takes the 2D sprite-based classic that we love and brings it into the present in 3D, utilizing up-to-date graphical rendering and lighting technologies. It also includes modernizing all 27 minutes of cinematics, recreated shot for shot with the explicit intention of preserving both the look and the pacing of the original movies. Blizzard has a long history of games that we're proud of. And when we think about Diablo 2, we think about it as a definitive pillar in our foundation. Now, it's funny to think that some of you weren't even born when D2 was released, which makes it all the more important that we deliver an authentic experience wherever you play. We want everyone to relive their memories or experience the game for the very first time on their platform of choice. And so we're excited to bring Diablo 2 Resurrected to PC and console, along with cross-progression. And for those of you who are in love with the original and you just wish it worked more seamlessly on modern computers, you can bring back all of that nostalgia exactly as you remember and enjoy the game in its original 2D form, much like we did with StarCraft Remastered. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Later today, Diablo speedrunner Mr. Llama will host a roundtable with members of the development team on the dedicated Diablo channel. If you are a Diablo 2 fan, I encourage you to take a look. So, from Diablo 2 Resurrected, to Burning Crusade Classic, to the Blizzard Arcade Collection, it's a whole lot of looking back. And while we have teams dedicated to bringing these timeless experiences into your hands, it's actually a very small percentage of our developers working on these projects. Far more people are working on the future of Blizzard. And in addition to what we'll be talking about during the show, we can't wait to tell you even more about our plans over the course of this year and beyond. If you had asked us 30 years ago what gaming would look like today, none of us could have predicted the current Blizzard lineup of games. The advances in technology are one thing, but it's really what those advances have enabled that's even more incredible. If you think about the people who play games and the communities that have grown up around them, the way people can connect instantly, no matter where they are in the world, the way people are increasingly able to express their identity and celebrate who they are through their favorite games, communities, and platforms. The explosion of things like streaming, cosplay, and esports. It would have been hard to imagine any of that 30 years ago. And at Blizzard, that is what excites us about the next 30 years. There is so much that we're working on. And some of it you already know about. The rest, we look forward to talking to you about it when the time is right. Just like the real world, the worlds of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and Hearthstone are diverse, expansive, and full of potential. We are not only iterating on the experiences that you've come to expect from us, we're also exploring different ways to express our worlds and welcome more players from more places into them. And we aspire to continue to lead on priorities like accessibility and toxicity control, and to continue supporting causes that have a positive impact on the real world. We want to continue to bring those same feelings of joy and achievement that we all felt when we first defeated the Lich King, or beat Diablo on hardcore mode. Because when we geek out on those experiences with others, we can't help but see the similarities between us and feel what's possible when we play together. Of course, there are new Blizzard worlds that we haven't visited quite yet. And when we do finally unveil those games and experiences, our hope is that you will see in them what we do. That no matter who you are or where you're from, they are spaces where you can create new stories, forge new friendships, and make memories worthy of lasting a lifetime. And through it all, our mission statement of being dedicated to creating the most epic entertainment experiences ever, along with our core values, led by gameplay first, will continue to guide our way. So on behalf of everyone at Blizzard, thank you for being on this journey. For me personally, it is the honor of my professional life to serve you, and the honor of all of us at Blizzard to be the caretakers of the worlds that you play in. We are so excited for what's to come this year, next year, and the next 30 years. Now, what's coming next for the show? Well, it depends on where you watch. For those of you looking for an update on Overwatch, check out the behind-the-scenes look into the development of Overwatch 2 over on their dedicated channel right after the conclusion of opening ceremonies. There, you'll hear about Overwatch 2, new content, new features, including new maps, hero missions, talent trees, and more of what we think will make Overwatch 2 a unique gameplay experience. For World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Hearthstone, you'll get a closer look on their respective channels. And on the dedicated strategy channel, some StarCraft legends will be going head-to-head in epic competition. Once again, welcome to BlizzConline. Be good to one another. Welcome home. Before we kick things off, here's a little something from a previous BlizzCon headliner.
Hey, thanks for having us. We're Metallica. Thanks for having us at BlizzCon 2014. We would love to be there this year, but obviously can't be. So here we are, and this is for you.
Your death will. Morta Vespa Gaia Inu.
Help! Help!
By the power!
Strike with great vengeance! Prepared! Frostmourne hungers for your soul. Your time has come. Strange.
Greetings to you. Seems you're ready for the real thing.
Watch your back.
F it up!
Hey, look at me!
Oh, looks like we got an audience.
I'm getting good at this. I am in the groove.
Turret online.
Surprise! Piece of cake.
Welcome everyone to our deep dive panel for WoW Classic. I'd like to start with some introductions with these fine gentlemen with me and myself. I'm Holly Longdale. I'm the principal producer for WoW Classic. A little bit about my background. I spent 13 years working on EverQuest. I started as a game designer and eventually became the head of the studio for the EverQuest franchise. That said, I've always been a WoW player since beta. So this is obviously a dream come true for me, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm Patrick Dawson. I'm the production director for World of Warcraft. I've been at Blizzard for 15 years now, and have been on WoW for most of that time. Avid WoW player myself, and really excited to open up that dark portal again as we all step through it.
And my name's Brian Birmingham, and I'm the lead software engineer on WoW Classic. I've also been at Blizzard for 15 years. I started on World of Warcraft. I spent about 3 years on Hearthstone as well, and then came back to the World of Warcraft team to work on WoW Classic. And it has been a great joy to me to work on this team.
There's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
So earlier we announced, yay, Burning Crusade Classic is coming. But there's a lot more to it. Let's take a look at the features, because wow. I mean, wow, right? Wow. I was so excited by playing Draenei and Blood Elves. I played both, and I will say
normally cast. We're going to have 2 versus 2 matches, 3 versus 3 matches, 6-man free-for-all matches. And we're going to have that in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 with a bunch of the most legendary players of all time.
That's right. We're going to be switching back and forth between StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2, and increasing the players as we go along ahead in this tournament. So, as you can see, our lineup, so many incredible players from both StarCraft 1 and 2, and some that have had a lot of accomplishments in both.
Yeah.
Stork, Effort, Last, Reign, Nesty, MVP, MC, and Party.
Parting was a little bit more of a practice partner, like up and coming.
Right.
But that's kind of how the StarCraft 2 guys were. This is going to be just so entertaining, Tasteless, to see this lineup of players going at it.
Before we get our game started, let's go ahead and hop into a quick interview with our players and see how they're feeling before our match.
네, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 송병구입니다. 블리즈컨은 2016년에 스타2 코치를 하면서 외국인 선수랑 이벤트전을 했던 게 마지막 기억에 남는데요. 그 뒤에는 이제 참가를 못했었거든요. 그랬는데 이렇게 연락이 와서 참가하게 돼서 너무나 기분이 좋네요.
네, 안녕하세요. 임재덕입니다. 제가 2015년 이벤트 매치를 했었는데 블리즈컨에서 다시 6년 만에 경기를 하게 돼서 너무 기쁘게 생각하고, 일단 테란 선수들이 굉장히 유리할 것 같은데 또 게이머들의 자존심이 걸려있는 문제라 최대한 오래 살아남도록 열심히 해보겠습니다.
고스토스 부통령 장민철입니다. 오랜만에 이렇게 찾아뵙게 돼서 너무 반갑습니다. 이렇게 좋은 기회로 블리즈컨에 오랜만에 다시 참가하게 돼서 굉장히 기쁩니다. 제가 스타2 이기는 거는 뭐 당연한 거니까 개인전에서 꼭 이기도록 하겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 전 프로게이머 김성현입니다. 이번에 블리즈컨에 초대를 받았는데 되게 영광이고, 스타1과 스타2 멤버가 같이 합쳐서 이제 매치를 하게 된다고 들었는데, 일단은 스타1은 당연히 이길 거라고 생각해서 이제 별 걱정 안 하고요. 스타2 이제 많은 경기가 있는데 그 중에 이제 한 경기라도 이기는 걸 목표로 열심히 하려고 합니다.
스타크래프트 1 프로게이머 김정우입니다. 이렇게 오랜만에 또 초대해 주셔서 너무 기분 좋고, 간만에 하니까 또 감회가 새롭네요. 사실 제가 스타2는 진짜 오랜만에 하는 거라서 스타2가 좀 기대되는데요. 많은 응원 부탁드리겠습니다.
안녕하세요. 프로게이머 정윤종입니다. 레인 아이디를 썼던 스타1, 스타2 다 플레이했던 선수고요. 이번에 블리즈컨 이렇게 초대해 주셔가지고 정말 감사드리고, 다시 한번 팬분들이랑 이렇게 좋은 기회 얻을 수 있게 해주셔서 정말 감사드립니다. 꼭 좋은 경기 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 저는 MVP라는 아이디를 사용했던 전 프로게이머 정종현이라고 하고요. 이렇게 팬분들께 오랜만에 인사 뵙게 돼서 너무 기분이 좋습니다. 제가 게이머 때부터 블리즈컨이라는 대회를 가장 참가하고 싶었고, 참여할 때 가장 우승하고 싶었던 대회인데, 스타1과 스타2를 함께 하는 이번 경기에서 스타2는 꼭 그래도 다 이기도록 하겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 스타크래프트2 게이머 원인삭이라고 하고요. 레전드 선수들과 함께 할 수 있어서 너무 기쁘고요. 그리고 이렇게 큰 행사에서 팬분들을 만날 수 있어서 정말 고맙고 영광입니다. 하지만 근데 스타크래프트2 대표로서 꼭 이길 거고, 스타크래프트1 선수들은 긴장했으면 좋겠습니다.
Okay, very exciting to see our players there now. I'm so glad we're able to have an event like this, despite the world being quarantined, everybody being separated. At least the internet can bring us together. And this match, to start it all off, is going to be these players on the classic StarCraft 1 map, Lost Temple.
Oh, this map brings back so many memories. One of the most played maps of all time within StarCraft 1. So there's no doubt that all 4 of these players have played it a lot. And in fact, makes a kind of interesting 2 versus 2 map. Now let's take a look at our StarCraft 2 representing legends here. MC and Parting, of course, as I mentioned before, they were pros in StarCraft 1 who switched to StarCraft 2 and got a lot more championships, fame, and all that. MC, of course, I mean, this guy is one of the most successful players of all time. He did more to shape early Protoss than anybody else.
Yeah, these guys, so strong, and really in the early era of StarCraft 2 were the people that were able to map out a game that was, frankly, very different from StarCraft 1, required a different approach, and these early pioneers of an esport like StarCraft 2 are really the people that built the road that everybody else is now traveling on. So it's going to be cool to see them together here, going up against Stork and Rain.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, both these guys, of course, were very good in StarCraft 2 also. In fact, Rain winning multiple championships, but he's even more accomplished in StarCraft 1 nowadays, having won ASL and KSL. Just a brilliant Protoss player, one of the greatest RTS players of all time. And, of course, Stork, considered one of the top 4 players ever in StarCraft 1.
Yeah, Stork was somebody that really, in StarCraft 1, showed how precise build orders can be, was somebody that was really a thinker in the game. He was actually one of these slower pros as far as just speed win.
Yeah, he's, to this day, actually, he's still competing professionally, and he is the slowest pro, as you point out.
And that goes to show you that as much as we hype APM, it is a lot of thought and how you play the game and approach it. And it looks like our game is ready to go. Again, we're going to be on Lost Temple. This is the classic StarCraft 1 map. Anybody who wasn't playing Hunters or Big Game Hunters was playing competitive StarCraft here.
Yes, indeed. And it's going to be 2 versus 2, our StarCraft 2 players against our StarCraft 1 players, everyone playing Protoss. Going to be awesome. We have up at 12 o'clock here. This is Stork. And over at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, Rain. Then over here at 3, we have MC. And down at 6 o'clock, we have Parting. So they're kind of, if you draw a line diagonally through the top right of the map, that bottom right side is going to be our StarCraft 2 players, and the top left going to be our StarCraft 1 players.
One of the features about StarCraft 1 competitive 2v2, and we should note here that StarCraft 1 competitive 2v2 is probably the most competitive RTS team anything that there ever was. This was televised out here. It was done on pro teams, and so really this is the best version of team competitive RTS that there is, and it still holds up to this date. But one of the main features about that makes it in some ways a little bit antithetical to what people are used to in seeing a StarCraft game is that it is very difficult to expand. Traditionally, StarCraft is viewed as the RTS game, which requires expansions nonstop. The same is true for StarCraft 2 as well. But when you get a 2v2 in StarCraft 1, it's tough to get even an additional base for any of the players.
Oh, absolutely is the case. And I think that is going to be something that carries over to here. Both sides having 2 Protoss players should be seeing a lot of Zealots early on, the very powerful unit. But do you think there's any chance anyone tries to rush up the tech tree?
It's definitely a possibility. Dragoons are in some ways better units than Zealots because, micro is such a thing in StarCraft 1 that a Dragoon, in theory, if microed perfectly, can kill a Zealot without it ever being touched. It's hard to do, but it's possible. So it's really a balancing act on both sides. You get Zealots, they can run over a player early on, but if somebody techs into Dragoons and stays safe, they're going to be stronger. Again, if they survive that.
Well, it looks like right now everyone is going 2 gates except for Rain. Rain is going up that tech tree, grabbing the Cybernetics core, and he's going to be able to get into the Dragoons. I just wonder if this is going to hurt him at all. Is he going to get rushed down by mass Zealots from the other players?
So the problem specifically in 2v2, Protoss versus Protoss, is that if one player techs Dragoons, the player going Zealots doesn't have an easy way to protect him.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always the possibility that the 2 players rushing Zealots can then, let's say that the other player's sending his Zealots to help the Dragoon teching player, you could counterattack him as well. So the early game here is going to be the most significant part of this game. We don't know how long it's going to go on for, but because there's going to be the decision to tech up right away and nobody's slow playing it, we need to make sure that these players survive. Because oftentimes in a 2 versus 2, the way that you win is you just kill one of the players early on, and then the other 2 players gang up on that lone player and win from there.
Yeah, now look at this. He tries to come in with this lone Zealot. This is Stork's Zealot trying to get some harassment with a beautiful probe drill right there, holding that off. And that is MC's base. So destroys that first Zealot and kind of puts a stop to any harassment that was going to occur.
That was, I think, possibly a mistake there by Stork to send that Zealot out like that, just because we have 2 players who are going to be teching up into mass gateways, and we're seeing this happen right here, right now. I mean, the fact that you have this many Zealots, look, in PvP, there's plenty of players that lose to 2-gate Zealot just making a Dragoon, even at the pro level, going 1-gateway Dragoon. But when it's 2 players rushing you, that's double the trouble.
No, totally. Look at this, a ton of Zealots from Parting coming into Rain's base. Now, Rain has some of the best micro in the world, some of the best control that you can see with Dragoons. In fact, he's known as the best Protoss versus Protoss player. So let's see if he can hold on here. Taking some damage on that Dragoon, does heal up with the shield battery.
But it looks like the blue team here definitely has the right idea by targeting down the battery. The shield battery cannot heal itself, and so usually in a rush, it's the first target that you're going to be trying to go for. We have the Dragoons being microed as hard as they possibly can to try to hang on here, but this is so much damage coming here from both Parting and MC.
There's just so many Zealots getting into his base. This could be very, very bad for Team StarCraft 1. The StarCraft 2 players really showing them how it's done. But there is that counterattack going on. It looks like Stork has sent all of his Zealots into MC's base over at the 3 o'clock position. Now look at this, Parting getting his Zealots into the mineral line, but a nice drill there from Rain.
Beautiful drill on the left side. Again, if you can keep enough probes alive, keep your Dragoons alive, especially with range finishing, you can hang on. But I'm worried more now on the right side of the map about the survivability over here for our player at the top right. Is that
MC?
MC, excuse me. Thank you. Because he's versus Zealots for Zealots, and the number is so high that you are just going to lose your gateways, and from there it's very easy to just lose the game. There's really no way to recover. You know, with Dragoons, the damage is much more elastic because you can control it, you can kite them, and try to shoot down those units as they pursue you. In this case, it looks like MC is about to get hard locked out of coming out of this game.
Yeah, he's looking kind of dead. And honestly, even though Parting sent a lot of Zealots through and is continuing to make them, sending them up to 12 o'clock, Rain held his rush. So Parting has to get a ton done right now, or he is going to be in trouble. He sends up these Zealots into 12, and look at that, he's getting the mineral line, but great micro all over the place. Everyone just drilling probes onto the Zealots.
Yeah, again, the Dragoons, as long as you get enough of them, they are better than the Zealots. And now we're going to see our player at 3 o'clock get eliminated as all of these Zealots come in here and storm down the few probes that are, and the 1 Dragoon, I should say, that are here to defend. But again, this is getting to be a very scrappy game. We have one player that looks like he won't have an economy. I love this, by the way. The attempted wall to trap some of these Dragoons in here while this fight continues.
Yeah, it's really all up to Parting now, but with this many Dragoons in his base and no units there to help defend, he is in a tough spot. It looks like right now just Dragoons microing frantically against Zealots is the name of the game.
Now the probes are coming up here. Oh, that's going to be it. There we go. GG, MC and Party tapping out in what I got to say was a really exciting game. A 2v2 in StarCraft 1 oftentimes is quite short. It really is so much about control and very sharp decision making. If you're able to tech at the right time and control that, you can win, and we saw that back there.
Yeah, it looked for a moment like these StarCraft 2 players would actually maybe be able to upset the StarCraft 1 players there. But Rain's control a bit too strong. He got those Dragoons out, and when you have those Dragoons, nothing's really going to hit them when Rain is behind the wheel.
It's a funny thing in PvP that happens in StarCraft, or I should say 1v1 that you can have in 2v2 is that if you get your Dragoons out and survive a Zealot Rush, you're usually in a better position, and since all the races were Protoss there, that's kind of what we got.
Yeah. So there you go. We have a point on the board for Team StarCraft 1, but the game was StarCraft 1. It's time to get into StarCraft 2. Let's get it started.
Okay, and it looks like our next game is starting. We're ready to go now into StarCraft 2 instead of StarCraft 1.
That's right. We did have the StarCraft 1 legends beat the StarCraft 2 legends in StarCraft 1. Can they pay them back in their own game? It's time to start.
So our game is ready to go. And it looks like our game is ready now. So we're going to be going into this match. Again, same players, all Protoss here. But I think our StarCraft 2 players are going to perform a little bit better. Granted, it is Lost Temple, so you are disjointed. There are forms of StarCraft 2 where you actually start out right next to your opponent. But in this case, there's going to be some of the same themes here from our previous game.
Yeah, it's likely going to be a lot of early game units because you do get so many, but StarCraft 2 is a very different game, right? You can actually, in 2 vs. 2, trade resources in StarCraft 2. You can control each other's units a lot of the time as well. So it's hard to say exactly how they're going to approach it, but interestingly enough, I'm looking at this, right? And we have the players that are full-time StarCraft 2 guys, or at least were in MC's case, going ahead and making their gateways at the ramp, whereas the gates are being made near the nexuses for Team StarCraft 1, which maybe won't be the right way to do it.
This is so funny because it really shows the ingrained habits of each of the experts in each of the games. Obviously, in StarCraft 2, you want to have the gateway at the ramp. You want to start to try to do wall-ins early on, almost like you're a Terran in StarCraft 1. But in this case, we have our StarCraft 1 players behaving, at least build order placement-wise, like they're in a StarCraft 1 game.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit worrisome for them. I do wonder if we're going to just get up to Adepts and have those just shade right through and kill all the probes, but we'll see about that. It's kind of interesting. We have, by the way, just to let you know where the players are, 12 o'clock is Rain, 9 o'clock is Stork, 3 o'clock is Parting, and 6 o'clock is MC. So the teams are on the same sides, but their actual positions are switched from the previous game.
So in this game, you can absolutely have a short one. It could go to a long game, but the truth is, I just feel like when you don't have a wall-in like that at your entrance, you're inviting a lot of attacks. And, two players attacking you at the same time is obviously devastating, especially if your ally can't get there in time. Another thing we want to watch for as well is what tech paths are chosen and how hard will they tech. Because when you are building up your tech tree in a StarCraft 2 2v2, you are neglecting some of those core units that would be for fighting early on.
Now, we actually have Adepts coming out first for both of the StarCraft 2 players, and that really kind of shows that they know exactly what they're doing. Just what we were talking about before. The Adepts could be completely deadly this game. I don't know how you're going to be able to block 4 to 8 Adepts unless you have a full wall at your ramp.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Now we've got some of these Adepts already shading over here. It looks like into 12 o'clock. We're just now catching this on camera here. Now, 2 Adepts can one-shot a probe, and you don't have a lot of probes early on, so this is economically devastating to deal with at the start of a game.
Yeah, he is dealing a ton of damage right there. A lot of probes end up falling here for Rain. He is in some trouble, but he does have those Stalkers. He loves those Stalkers and pushes them back for now. So he does have a slightly stronger army, but took a big bruise to his economy. Now a lot more Adepts shading forward, going towards that mineral line.
Okay, these Adepts coming in now, and again, this is such a devastating amount of damage. It is worthwhile to trade those Adepts off to kill the workers. It is possible to get hard locked out of producing workers for a little bit, unless your unless your teammate can send you resources, but then you're draining them as well.
Yeah, that's really rough. He kills off some of the Adepts, pushes them out, but how many probes does he even have left here? 4 or 5? He's taken a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, he's now has less probes than he started with in the game, which is crazy to think about. But over here in the south, we're getting some pretty impressive tech. So we've had Adepts come in here and really punish Rain over at 12 o'clock. But from here, we have a lot of Stalkers in the game. But I think one of the most significant units we're going to have in general in this 2v2 is going to be the Immortals, which we see being made down here at 6 o'clock for MC. The Immortal versus anything that's not an air unit is very strong. It's a very well-rounded unit, and that can easily curb a fight.
Oh, certainly. And now, oh my gosh, Parting flies in with an Oracle over here to Stork's base, killing a lot more probes. The amount of economic damage dealt from the StarCraft 2 players to the StarCraft 1 players is immense. They are so far ahead right now.
It's funny because our first 2v2 was actually quite close. It was pretty dramatic, but this is absolute domination here from the StarCraft 2 pros.
That's right. Look at that. No probes left over. He's got 1 probe mining. So they knocked down one of the players to 4 probes, the other one to 1 probe. I mean, that's just about it. GG is called.
Yeah, wow. They just tap out. Very impressive game there. And we're seeing the StarCraft 2 players assert themselves, dominating MC and Parting with the victory. Up next with our StarCraft Legends team matches, MVP and Nestea versus Last and Effort.
This is going to be a really exciting StarCraft 1 2 vs 2. And part of the reason for that is, of course, MVP and Nestea, they were StarCraft 1 pros, but very specifically, Nestea was a 2 vs 2 pro. He played a lot of 2 vs 2 matches during his career.
That's right. Zerg was one of the essential races you almost always had to have in a 2v2. And he was one of the best, if not the best, Zerg players in a team game. So I'm very excited to see him play this MVP. There's a million reasons to be hyped for this guy.
Oh, of course. MVP still talked about to this day as one of the greatest of all time. He has a ridiculous amount of championships under his belt. And, of course, Nestea, the Zerg equivalent to MVP. These two were just giant dominators in the beginning of StarCraft 2.
And, of course, on the other side, we have Last and Effort. Now, Last, in recent times, has been a true hero for aspiring StarCraft 1 pros. Recently, he's had so much success.
Yeah, he's won an ASL, he's won a KSL, and honestly, he had a short but strong career in StarCraft 2 also, so it'll be cool to see him play some of that again today. And then, of course, Effort. This guy is one of the most legendary Zerg players of all time and the only player that actually beats Flash in best of fives.
And at TVZ is, or I should say Terran and Zerg is a very common 2v2 team to have here. So it's going to be a Terran Zerg versus a Terran Zerg. Should be very exciting. And it looks like our game is ready to go. Let's get this started.
So our map going to be Lost Temple here. Once again, we see Last over here at the 9 o'clock position. A great Terran player, multiple championships for him. And his teammate is actually going to be over at 3 o'clock. So cross map, it's going to be Effort.
Yeah, this is always have some conversations here actually with our players.
One hatch mute, as he says. I love it. But yeah, we have MVP up at 12 o'clock, and we have Nestea down at 6 o'clock. Oh, man, this is going to be really fun to see what these guys actually come up with.
One thing about early Zerg units and early Terran units is that they're very brittle. This will be quite different from our first 2v2 that we casted here where they were all Protoss. The Protoss Tier 1 units especially are very meaty. They can take damage, and you can a lot of times force situations. Here, any miscontrol on either side, and it can be very, very explosive. You can lose everything immediately.
Right now, Last is sending out a very early SCV here. It looks like he might be going for like a proxy barracks play. Not entirely sure. Going to send this SCV up. Oh, wow, look at that. A proxy barracks right outside the main base of MVP.
This is so cool. You know, depending on how the Zerg plays, Terran is generally the most vulnerable race in StarCraft 1, unless the other races are doing something very risky. In a 2v2, I think one of the ideas we're going to see here is Marine pressure into Ling pressure to try to wipe out the Terran player early on. And from there, they can then try to gang up on the other Zerg player on the other side of the map and win in a 2 versus 1.
Look at this. He comes out and actually scouts what Last is doing right away. Oh, this is a huge find for him. If he could prevent that barracks from finishing, then this game is going to be heavily favored for our team StarCraft 2.
Yeah, and if you, again, even with this barracks being spotted, it looks like it will barely finish! It does.
Oh, beautifully done. But SCVs can actually fight against Marines in StarCraft 1, and with 3 of them out there, it's going to be hard to really put damage out.
The units will always spawn at the bottom left side of the structure. You can see a small triangle of SCVs ready to catch that, but immediately the Marine escapes, the barracks lifts. Also, a lifted barracks can be blocked by SCVs underneath it, or Zerglings or anything else. So I worry a little bit here about our Terran player in the middle of the map and how exactly this is going to be controlled.
Well, a lot of Lings coming out from Nestea down at the bottom, coming up to help a bit. Lings are here as well from Effort, but they're not going to be able to actually do any damage to MVP. He's already got a bunker up at his Wallen. Instead, it looks like Nestea might go and attack Last, who we know just can't really have units at home since his barracks is across the map.
The aggressive barracks play early on is completely backfiring, as far as I can tell here, for Last. Last with a naked main here. Lings coming in right now, which are very strong at fighting SCVs if controlled correctly.
Oh man, these Lings coming in. This is going to be very difficult for him to hold on. Nesty's micro should be true here. Gonna go ahead and dodge some of these SCVs. Look at this. He's got no units to help out.
More Lings are coming in. Keep in mind, Ling speed is finished on both sides. And it looks like some of Nesty's Zerglings are going to get trapped over here. Beautifully done.
Yeah, that was a nice catch. But in the meantime, Effort actually lost an Overlord, so that's a little bit painful. He is supply blocked. What you see is what you get for now.
I actually got to say, this is a pretty incredible save here by our blue team to keep the Terran alive here. The factory's going to finish. A Vulture is incredibly strong against Zerglings and also pretty good against Marines as well. So to be able to survive into that next tech jump is huge, but MVP on the red team is also getting his factory up as well.
Yeah, you know what, Nesty, by the way, when he was saying before that he wanted one hatch Muta, he was not joking. That Spire is almost halfway done, Tasteless, and that is something that's going to cause some pain because how many units do they have that shoot up? Almost none.
You're completely right. We could maybe see Terran tech into Goliaths here. The problem with Goliaths is that they struggle when fighting both air and ground units.
Well, right now, double Starport Wraith coming up also. Nesty and MVP, I do like their position. There's a lot of Lings out here from Effort, but he's keeping him kind of busy. I mean, Effort can clearly kill all of these Lings, but if he's chasing them around, that gives time for the flying units to come out.
That's very true, and now we have these Lings coming in here. Effort's Lings now chasing away the Lings of Nesty. I do like the tech up here into the Wraiths because this can be so strong if controlled correctly. Vulture's now coming into play here for Last, but it does seem like Last is in tech-wise the most difficult spot.
Yeah, it is going to be rough for him. Now, he does have some Vultures out on the map, so he can start to dominate some Zerglings, but is he going to have enough to actually hold on against those Mutas coming? I don't know.
If he can repair the bunker as well as the Vulture, this will be a solid hold here. These Lings will be useless. We're now into the air game here. Nesty flying in, beginning to damage these SCVs. Will the Goliaths be able to come out in time? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, he does have that finished armory, so hopefully has some Goliaths popping out pretty soon. 2 Goliaths can push back 3 Mutalisks, so that's going to be helpful. A few Lings coming in as well, but they're already low on health. He's going to clean those up, and he is going to save himself with those Goliaths.
A huge flood of Lings here from Effort coming towards Nesty's base, pulling those Mutalisks away. Now, drones, when covered correctly, can protect the Sunken Colony, but I think this Ling number may be so high, we're not going to have that many drones left in this game. Meanwhile, MVP combing the map with his Wraiths to try to kill off as many Overlords as possible.
Yeah, there is a Spore here that will save his Mineral Line at least somewhat, but with Mutas being made as well as 2 Port Wraith, the overall air army is getting extremely strong for Nesty and MVP.
You can see now these Wraiths really chipping away here at Effort in this position. It is Nesty that has the Mutas out. Mutas comboed with Wraiths are probably going to keep these 2 players, I'm talking about Last and Effort in this case, separated from each other. And if you're separated and isolated, you're very likely to lose a 2 versus 2.
It really looks that way. Look at Effort's supply, 9 of 2. That means only his hatcheries are giving him supply right now. He has to save up for Overlords, which will then be picked off. Really, this feels like Last is playing a 1 versus 2 right now.
That's right, and keep in mind, you can always fly in there and kill those Overlords off again and again and again. And with that kind of production gridlock, it's possible you're never able to come back.
No, this is very tough for Effort. He does have a second Spore up. He's finally getting some Overlords out to refill that supply. Sure, Nesty has taken some damage down at 6 o'clock, but is Last going to be able to make enough Goliaths to fight against 2 players until Effort recovers?
I guess that's the big question. Keep in mind, nobody has an expansion over here. I would say a 1-base Terran powering a lot of Goliaths. I love this Vulture, by the way. Every drone is so precious right now. A 1-base Terran powering Goliaths, that's, I think, still difficult against Wraith Muta, but Goliaths do counter Wraiths and Mutalisks. So if you get the right fight in the right place at the right time, a big maybe.
A big maybe, a big strong
And
maybe.
it's not
no
just
doubt.
a maybe like all caps locked. It's like a maybe with a question mark behind it.
Maybe even 2 question marks.
Yeah, maybe 2 question marks and 2 dots behind it.
Yeah. Right now, the rates of MVP dealing some harassment damage. Get rid of that geyser, so no more gas for Effort. He's going after the spawning pool as well. Effort has just been a punching bag for these two.
But sometimes that's what 2v2 is in StarCraft 1, especially for the Zerg, is to try to hang on, to try to buy time, and come up with some kind of solution. Now, we have the Goliaths of Last heading southbound here. They are going to try to close in on this base that we're getting a shot of right here. And I do want to point out the Wraiths are far, far away from home.
Yeah, even if they come down, Wraiths are pretty weak against Goliaths, that's for sure. Now, the Muta's trying to do some counter harassment, but it looks like Last is looking pretty solid. Ooh, MVP sending down some siege tanks as well now.
And if we get a really good surround over here on this layer, you can gun down these sunken colonies, you can fire at the mutas, and you can also pick off that key structure, the layer, which allows you to just get any resources. Killing that will lock Nesty out of this game.
And look at this, MVP saying, you know what, I'm just going to end the Zerg. He's just going to go ahead and try to kill Effort because he sees that Nesty is basically dead. So the Terran player's going to eliminate the Zergs.
And from here, I guess we're going to end up with a Terran versus Terran on some level. We're seeing that that siege tank was in range of the sunken colony, one of the more grave errors you can make in a game like this. Now, Nesty has saved 1 drone, but the observer's showing us he does not have 300 minerals, so Nesty can no longer produce this game. And it's going to be up to Nesty's mutas and everything else that MVP has to try to eliminate Effort in this race.
Are they going to be able to kill Effort off? And if so, is that going to be enough to give them victory? It looks like the only expansion taken this game is MVP's up at 12 o'clock, so he is going to have the bigger economy. But Last, a really strong StarCraft 1 player, maybe he can come back in the spawn.
The tank's been picked off. But there's 1 sunken colony just underneath the Overlord. So you can't just run in there and start killing drones. And, you know, Effort has played a key role in this game. It can be confusing to the passive observer where it might look like he was just defending, but being a battery of that damage and staying alive and being a possible threat later on is key. And I think we are close to having our blue team end up with a defeating our red team here. If we can just get enough back here for the Zerg, it's very hard to play a 2v1.
It is really hard, but it's MVP. He's one of the GOATs, right? And he was a very strong StarCraft 1 pro as well, so he knows what he's doing here. He does have a bigger economy, but yeah, look at this. Nesty, almost nothing left over, just a couple buildings. He's going to get eliminated, it looks like here. A couple drones out on the map, but the only thing he could really build would be a gas somewhere.
Here we go. Is he going to get this up in time? Yeah, he'll get it there. Now, keep in mind, it's not like he needs to be in the game, but if you're in the game, you can move overlords. You can try to micro maybe the 1 or 2 mutas you have here. It's something, and again, it should be emphasized that even a few units by the player that's basically dead doing something can be helpful in the end here. But right now, again, this is a 2 versus 1. We have the mutas now covering the tanks as we're having Effort slowly build up into a Zerg that will eventually take a base. And meanwhile, it's MVP with the 5 factories coming down here. This is still a really interesting game.
Yeah, there's no real tech for Effort. It's not like he has mutas or something. It looks like Nesty is probably going to get eliminated at this point. He throws his mutas in for one final scout of Effort's base. And you know what? It shows that there's no real tech. So he was really useful till the last moments. Some great team play there from Nesty, kind of sacrificing himself and turning off his camera. In the meantime, yeah, it's turning into a Terran versus Terran and Zerg.
Yeah, and I think the question right now is how are you going to bust this? It looks like we're actually going to have them try to come out. I meant a bust to contain, but I guess they're going to go for an actual attack over here onto the entrance. Pretty bold move here.
I think he's going to maybe hold on, though, to be honest. That was beautiful. He had a nice spread of siege tanks, and that barracks sucked up a lot of attacks from the Goliaths. So a little bit of a sloppy bust from Last, and MVP holds on.
Beautifully done. MVP still in this game, but a Terran with good cover can contain another Terran player. So we're going to have to see if MVP could try to break out here, because a contained Terran is never going to be able to get control of the map, and that will allow the Zerg to get out of control. So now we have these SCVs and the tanks coming down here, planting mines, and I don't think that there's enough here for last if they're trying to defend this position.
Oh, this is huge if he actually breaks through, but hold on. Lings from Effort coming up. Don't forget there's another player in this game trying to surround the tanks. He does get a pick off right there. Going to end up losing the rest of these Lings, but no, he kills another tank as well. A huge effort there from the Zerg player.
And in kind of a crazy game here, it looks like barely they're going to be able to contain and curb the progress there of MVP. GG, what a game.
Yeah, that was a really nice one. Very, very close. I liked the ideas out of MVP and Nesty, and they almost took them out.
Up next, we're going to go to our StarCraft 2 2 versus 2 match, of course, with the same teams we just had in our previous game. MVP and Nesty versus Last and Effort.
All right. I wonder if they're going to do a bit better than we saw from the StarCraft 1 players in the last StarCraft 2 2 versus 2. Because that was pretty one-sided, right? They just died instantly to the Adepts.
It looks like our game is ready. We're going to go ahead and hop into this in our 4th 2v2 here at BlizzConline. In this case, we have our blue team here on the bottom right, and our red team here sharing the upper left.
Yeah, so we have Effort over at 3 o'clock and Last down at 6, as we already saw. Up at 12, we have Nesty. And over at 9, we have MVP. So this should be kind of interesting to see how they want to go about it. Definitely very different than the double Protoss versus double Protoss that we saw before. This is not something that you're just going to win by, shading in a bunch of Adepts and killing your opponent's workers. I think they're both going to be a bit more prepared, and I could see this being relatively close.
I'm interested to see how this is going to be handled. Again, this is on the classic StarCraft map, Lost Temple. But you're not sharing spawns like there is in StarCraft 2, 2 versus 2. But you can, of course, share resources. There are ways to come back. As an example, in that last game, we did see Nest T save a drone, and he was unable to make a hatchery because he didn't have enough minerals. In a game like this, if we have a similar situation, you could send Nesty minerals and he could restart from there.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, right? If you're only a few minerals off, then suddenly you can change the game around. StarCraft 2 is definitely a game where you can get a bit more mobile early on as Terran as well. Like
That's
a lot
right.
of players will like to go for Reapers, for instance, which of course are very fast. They can kite against all sorts of different units. And we'll see if that's the kind of direction they want to go in, but in that case, it's going to be a lot harder to kill your opponents, right? Because they can actually come up and help a bit more.
I like what you said about Terran being a little bit more viable in the early part of a StarCraft 2 match. The Marines are a little bit better. StarCraft 1 Marines are good when you get a certain amount of them.
Sure.
But definitely in this case, it should be a different game. Now, we're seeing a Baneling's Nest come down here. Banelings are already critical. If you're going to one base, you need to make sure they connect, I should say, perfectly. But I'll tell you what, man, when you're on against 2 players, every Baneling has to connect to its target.
Yeah, but look, there's a rush going down right now. MVP and Nesty sending Lings, sending Marines, trying to get a bunker up right now. Some additional Lings from Effort coming down and actually getting a nice surround there, trying to reduce the Marine count, which I think is absolutely critical because of that bunker.
Beautifully done there. The Baneling's Nest over here for Nesty about to finish up. But for now, there's this bunker in kind of an odd spot on the low ground. This Marine not on the inside, and he needs to get inside pretty quickly. Barely does manage to do so. But on the high ground, this bunker is about to finish, and this is certainly going to be something easy to reinforce. It's hard to imagine. Well, I say that, but then with this Baneling's finishing, I'm really getting to see the idea of this strategy. The Banelings could come up here and just tear open this entrance. That's going to be hard to deal with.
Yeah, they definitely will tear it open, too. The bunker goes down. The reactor goes down. Has the depot killed as well. Very few units left over here for Last, and the Speedlings of Nesty getting into his mineral line.
And now taking this much damage early on, going to be very difficult to ever imagine somebody recovering from this. I mean, yeah, sure, you can lift your command center off, try to go somewhere else, but really, this is so much damage so quickly, it does seem like the other team can now 2 versus 1 and overpower in somewhat of a similar fashion that we saw in our previous game.
Yeah, a lot of damage dealt, but now Effort roaming the map with a big group of roaches, and honestly, looking at that unit tab, these roaches beat everything that's on the map right now.
Yeah, these roaches are really the muscle on the map that can't quite be dealt with. I mean, this is one of the things about when two players gang up on one player early on. If that other player doesn't do everything to try to save him, they will at least have a much more powerful tech, a stronger army.
Yeah.
And sometimes we see games swing after that.
Yeah, we're going to see if that swings now because he is walking across the map with a lot of roaches. Some spines going up for Nesty at 12 o'clock. Let's see if he can end up holding on. Yeah, I think he'll be able to, right? That's a lot of lings. He has a couple queens. The spines are going to finish. I don't think Effort can get him.
This is a great block up here. Anything to buy a little bit of time. Now, keep in mind, our Terran in the blue is not out of the game just yet. If he can get a few more mules down, make a few more SCVs, he might be able to squeeze through. But over here at Nesty's base, these roaches coming through here, taking the queen out, or I should say almost taking the queen out, now going for these spines here.
And it looks like Effort will be pushed back. The Marines coming up, trying to pick off the few roaches that are running away. Good micro there from Effort, getting the maximum value out of those roaches before they fall.
Yeah, this is some incredible play here. And right now, a lot of players are limping through this game here. We have our red Terran and our blue Zerg with muscle, with the ability to fight on the map. The other two players are trying to recover and catch back up. Here we have the Banshee coming in here. No real easy retaliation from anywhere to try to stop this thing.
No, 2-star Banshee looked like it was a great idea here from MVP. He's going to have Cloak, which is going to make it even more powerful. It looks like he's got enough at this point to maybe take everyone else out of this game.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that there's no easy response to the Banshee, especially if they're coming out in pairs. And as the last SCVs are falling here, this is very quickly becoming a 2 versus 1.
But Nesty in a bit of trouble. Last sending up a couple Hellions before he's out of this game to deal some additional damage here. Effort with the roaches as well. He's going to be able to get on top of those drones. So this could turn into a 1 versus 1, but MVP with this many Banshees seems really favored.
MVP coming in here and beginning to hammer that expansion there in the center right. And that is huge. Nesty pulling his drones out here as the Hellions meet them. The Terran's still in this game doing quite a bit of damage.
These Banshees really going to town as well, taking out some Queens. Transfusions going down. Good micro again by Effort while he kills off Nesty. But the Banshees, like, there's no answer. What are you going to do? You walk your Spore forward?
Yeah, there's just not any easy response to this, is there? Another Queen pops out. Maybe this will buy a little bit of time. But again, right now, so many players battered and bruised here. 12 o'clock is almost completely wiped out. Our Terran at 6, I'm not sure. I think he has maybe 1 or 2 SCVs mining there, but certainly not enough to be really very active in this game. But the real story, again, is these Banshees just doing so much damage without any easy way to respond here for Effort.
Oh, Effort is just taking massive economic hits here left and right. He's trying to make more spores to stop those Banshees. It's not working out so well. Queen does pop out to help a little bit. Cancels that spore right before it dies as well. But the damage is being dealt everywhere by MVP.
I love the Roach counterattack, though, here from Effort. A Banshee will eventually kill all these Roaches, but not before these Roaches might kill every SCV in this base.
Yeah, they definitely could, but with 2 Banshees attacking, the SCVs stopping them from walking up any further. It looks like that will be cleaned up. In the meantime, the Banshee harassment at Effort's base has finally been put down, but MVP continues to produce.
So much damage dealt over here, but I would say that as the dust settles, there's going to be enough SCVs here for MVP to be a real threat. His Banshee production has not been slowed down at all.
He is continuing to throw those out for more and more damage. Oh, a couple mines just going burrow under them. Just barely can't lock on time. Running up here now.
And again, 2 Banshees can easily target fire down 1 mine, so once you zone out that mine, the mine has to unburrow and try to attack it somewhere else. And both of our blue players are just a few Banshee shots away from losing key things that will keep them in this game. In this case over here for Effort, it's going to be the hatchery. If the hatchery's knocked out, you cannot mine anymore. Both of them at below 10% HP.
Oh my gosh, he's going to get the one in the main base. Luckily, there is still one at the natural for Effort to mine from. But MVP starting to produce even more units. We see some Marauders coming out. He's got an expansion down. I tell you what, MVP might not really save you from being killed, Nesty, but he looks really good when he gets going.
The Banshee's going to come in here once more, and this is the same number of Banshees as there are Queens here. I don't see a Widow Mine up here to defend, and this is the only point that is gathering resources in any realistic fashion. I know we still have a Command Center in the game, but there's not that many workers. And it's going to be Banshee versus Queen as that Banshee is then kited away.
Ooh, a good micro again. Pulls back that Queen. Some good transfusions also. He is morphing a lair, which will add some health back onto that hatchery. It'll open up some more tech roots for him also. But the Banshees continue to retain control of this game.
The Banshee's coming down now, firing away at this hatchery once more. We need to see some transfuses come down here, but that's not going to be enough. There is one more hatchery being made now over in the main, but it is only halfway complete. The Banshees, again, eating damage from diving on top of that hatchery, but again, I don't know that these Banshees can be stopped. We have infantry now coming in here to reinforce, and it seems like we are at the beginning of the end. No, we are at the end. GG. Beautifully done there by MVP to close that out.
Yeah, and I think Nesty obviously very useful this game as well. He did do that Baneling bust, which allowed a lot of damage to happen to last. But well done, and Team StarCraft 2 takes both of the StarCraft 2 2v2s.
What an incredible set of games that we've had so far here. 2v2, once you get past 1v1, 2v2 is the most competitive and fun version of StarCraft I think you can get. And we saw how dynamic it can be. It looks like it's going to go one way because one player's dead, but then another player strong enough to come back and try to punish. I really like how that went.
Yeah.
And now we're going to amp it up, everybody. No more 2v2s.
2 week.
Now we're going to 3v3s. We're going to have one player representing each race on the map. Big Game Hunters.
Or known as BGH. This is one of the most popular maps ever in the history of StarCraft. Everyone's played BGH, right?
That's right. And if you were one of those diehard BGH players, you weren't probably were not playing with Artosis and me. At least not in the early days. No, the truth be told, I did start out on BGH like many other players. But this is a great map, especially for beginners, because you don't have to focus as much on expanding. But it's also really fun to see what happens when you put pros on it, especially in a team game. Our game is ready to start. We're going to go right into this. And I got to point out, even though this is a map we tend to think of where players are mining constantly and it's going to be huge, the reality is you can also rush each other. Nobody's going to stop you from rushing. This is not a no-rush 20-minute BGH.
Well, it is 3 versus 3. We'll see more about that. We just saw in the top left, we have MVP. In the top center, we have Nesty. And over there at 9 o'clock, we have MC. So they're all kind of towards the top left of the map. In the top right, we have Effort. In the bottom right, we have Rain. And in the bottom left, we have Last. So our StarCraft 1 players are all very split up from each other. But really, I think one of the big stories here is Nesty and MVP are right next to each other. They are as close as you can get on Big Game Hunters.
That's right. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that this map is not shaped perfectly, depending on the version that we're on here. So there are certain positions that are better than others. For instance, where this SUV is, if you were to go just a screen north of that, tanks can hit the mineral patches of that expansion. Again, if expansions come into play, there is no rule that says at this level of play that you can't rush each other, even though we tend to think of this as a map where, you know, there's going to be a Protoss with 12 carriers and an Arbiter, and the Terran's going to have battle cruisers, and Zerg's going Guardians and Devours. It could be an action-packed game still.
No, you're definitely right about that, and I think that's probably how it's going to go down as well. While a lot of the lay people that play on this map are going to be able to tech up and get to some really late-game cool armies, when you have pro gamers on each side, I mean, if everyone just optimizes and makes a bunch of early-game units and hits one player, you're going to almost kill them before his teammates get there to help.
That's right. So we're seeing 2 gateways thrown down here from our Protoss. I guess I'll cross the map here. It looks like it's going to be Zerglings was speed immediately as well. This is among the most common Zerg openings in 2v2. Of course, Zerglings probably the best unit realistically in the game.
Yeah.
It's hard to tech up in any team game for the Zerg. The highest tech you tend to see is Mutalisks. And they usually stay on that for a long time after that. But getting Link speed right away is a very strong play for sure.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be able to help his teammates as well as attack with these very, very quickly. And that is going to be important. Now, all 3 StarCraft 1 players really making a lot of units. Rain is going to Gateway Zealot. We have a Barracks in a forward position here for last, adding some Marines in. Ooh, even picks off that making SCV, but also, of course, those Speedlings, as you mentioned, from Effort.
This Barracks here is very important. It can help with the wall off, but it is there then denied. A Probe, an SCV, Marines, and Zerglings putting pressure over here to our player at 12 o'clock. This Marine needs to get behind. And now a bunker's going to go down there. This is going to isolate the Zerg, and this could be a very scary moment here. MVP going to try to come in now and help defend.
Oh, but the Lings actually all die. Nesty losing a lot of his units before anything else is there to help. MVP bringing a lot of SCVs down. We also have a random Zealot mixed in here from MC that's worked his way up. And, I guess they're going to be able to stop the bunker from going up at least, but he's lost a lot of his SCVs.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage to be taking right away. MVP going to pull away. Was this an overextension here from our blue team? It may be the case.
Ooh, some damage being dealt as well as Effort runs around with some harassment. Last going to have to pull back with his Marines. MC giving chase. And we see Rain in the bottom right starting to tech up to those Dragoons he loves so much.
Okay, nobody taking too much economic damage. That's the most important thing to take away for now, but the counterplay here from the red team is very strong. The fact that there is this Barracks out here for last in a far-out location means that can be forced to lift, and therefore Marines can be denied from production.
Yeah, he's made a bunker, so he's going to try to protect himself with that. In the meantime, actually hunting down some of these Zerglings from Effort. Looks like MVP fielding quite a few Marines to go with the Zealots of MC.
And this is some pretty incredible pressure we're seeing. You saw MVP telling everybody, go bottom right, push now. And we're seeing that down here, there's not really that much to defend. I mean, the Zealots, if they're on the outside, they're going to be outnumbered. If they're behind the gateways, the gateway production is going to fall here. And really, you know, between a hard rock and a cliff, there's no good way to go about doing this, man. Both ways to handle this suck. And we're going to see MC in a very, very good spot here because he's going to crush through the rest of these Zealots of Rain.
Well, just with those Marines pelting them from behind, you're going to kill the Zealots so quickly. They put out a lot of damage. The pylon goes down, so now the gate's unpowered. It looks like Team StarCraft 2 going to push forward into Rain's base.
Yeah, this is going to get pretty bad pretty quickly. And again, with the Marines here and Zealots and Lings to cover it, there's no real easy way here for Rain to try to defend. I love the Vulture coming down here, also doing damage to MC, but the real story is what's happening here at the bottom right side of the map.
Some great micro coming down. Effort getting his Speedlings on top of those Marines. Not going to be a lot of Marines left over, but 6 kills with that Vulture. Last getting a lot done with a little over here in MC's base.
And from now, with Rain, I mean, taking so much damage down there in the bottom right. He has workers. He can begin to recover, but it may be blow after blow after blow as this game continues on. You can see the rallying of units here in the red with their targets set on the weakest player, Rain, in the bottom right.
Yeah, but look at this. The Vultures joining in. These Vultures theoretically can kill everything with the right micro. So we'll see if Last can really be the hero of his team.
That's right. You know, the Vultures are very strong, but they're also very brittle units. They really are glass cannons. So if they're not controlled correctly, they can be killed by anything as well. But the gateway's up here getting denied once more as we see our red team diving on top of that pylon.
Ooh, yeah, they are going to unpower those gateways once again, but Effort bringing down a lot of Lings to help out this time. Looks like it will be a cleanup of these Zealots of MC.
Okay, the fight continues on down here. Sometimes it looks like one player could be getting beaten up, and that's going to cost him the game. Sometimes it's actually the opposite. The fact that you hung on means your teammates can power up enough. They can really do damage. I love the Ling play here by Nesty. He's absolutely got the right idea. Attacking right where the Vultures come out and stopping them before they can get numbers that are going to be too huge.
Now look at this. He's actually sacrificing his Lings to stop the Spider Mine upgrade. What a nice move. Mines would absolutely rip this game open for Team StarCraft 1, but Team StarCraft 2 looking pretty darn strong. Look at this. Trying to hold on. They have this beautifully placed bunker. Nesty with the endless Ling flood keeping everything out.
You're really seeing why Nesty was the MVP in 2 versus 2. Denying that upgrade and then denying the Vulture push at the top. 2 critical moments in this fight.
Absolutely the case. Now, Rain out on the map with some of his Dragoons, but looks like MC has more. Don't forget, MC is kind of out there on his own. He might be the player that they want to attack.
This is a crazy moment here in the middle of the map. Now, Dragoons beat Vultures. Now, Vulture Mines can beat Dragoons, but Lings together with Vultures absolutely smashing Dragoons, and we're seeing why.
Yeah.
The add-on's going to be added back in here, so even though Mines were denied, they're going to be a reality very soon.
I am feeling a little bit nervous here for Team StarCraft 2. They had a great opening, but now our StarCraft 1 players have map control. They're controlling that center, which means MC can't come up to help very quickly, right? He sees these units come up, he can send units now, but he's going to be late to the party.
Okay, a big push coming through here. There is a bunker. There are SCVs to help defend here, but this is a lot of units. The Lings have done their job. They've eaten the damage. The Vultures are going to spill through here now, and Nesty has nothing to defend that.
He lost all of his Lings trying to hold on there at the front. In the meantime, MVP is holding on with mass repair in the bunker, but a lot of drones falling for Nesty. He is down to 5 supply.
Yeah, and I don't see any workers on the screen right now. It's going to be a long climb to get back into this game. Obviously, Rain took a lot of damage early on, but that doesn't compare to the damage that Nesty just dealt with back there.
Well, he's at 0 supply, literally, with 97 minerals. So he can make, like, a drone to start coming back. But Nesty is effectively out of this game other than his Overlords flying around.
And remember, you can't share resources in StarCraft 1, so if they dive in there again and kill the drone, he may be hard-locked out of any economic play.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we see these Wraiths come in here and doing a lot of damage over here to Effort's workers. It's going to be some time, though, before they can truly kill everything off.
Yeah, they will be chased out by those Dragoons. In the meantime, MC going to be pushed down here from a 3-way alliance. Zerg, Terran, and Protoss siege tanks covered by Zerglings and Dragoons. I've never seen something so scary.
And, you know, Dragoons are already pretty good if they slightly outnumber the Dragoon count, but with Vultures, tanks, and Zerglings here, this could be a fatal blow.
Yeah, the rates of MVP coming down, they seemed like a cool idea, but they are not going to help against this Dragoon count. Absolutely not. This is looking like it's just about over. Nesty has already died. MC is about out of here. And that leaves just poor MVP with his rates. GG is called. And that will be that for the first 3 versus 3 of the day.
Can I tell you something, Artosis?
Yeah. Tell me something tasteless.
3 versus 3 is pretty damn cool, actually.
Yeah.
That was a really hype game. It was honestly a little bit hard to follow because there was so much action happening back there, but you can see how it can shift back and forth between somebody's defending. It looks like, oh, maybe they're gone, they're dead, but they hang on. They've got a little bit of workers. They start to come back. Maybe that other team overextends, and they can punch back. Counterplay, so important. And as much as 2v2 is exciting, honestly, that game was crazy.
Yeah, it was really well done as well, because the first player that really seemed to take a lot of damage was Rain in the bottom right. And, you know, they dived on him. They sent so many basic units in there. They definitely did some damage. But then last with those Vultures, just destroyed everyone. That little bit of extra tech allowed him to dominate a big part of that game.
We also saw why Nesty is such a strong team player. He really managed to do an incredible job. And we're going to see how he does here in our next 3v3 matchup. It's going to be on Big Game Hunters again, but this time around they're playing StarCraft 2.
All right, here we go into Big Game Hunters on StarCraft 2. It's a remake of the wonderful StarCraft 1 map. Not as popular in StarCraft 2 as it was in StarCraft 1 and as it still is in StarCraft 1, but basically the same idea.
Yeah. It doesn't have as many minerals, I think, as we need. I think we need a disgusting amount of minerals to truly just aesthetically get that BGH feel.
Yeah.
Where it feels like you're playing in a cubicle of minerals is the way I always looked at it. But you can see just in that last game that although thematically we look at BGH and as far as team games go, we kind of imagine these real wars of attrition. It's hard to ever break anybody. It is in some ways almost at the lower levels a turn-based game as far as feel goes, where you're sitting back, you're massing up, you're trying to make a bunch of these powerful tier 3 units. At pro play, it's a bloodbath. It's a brawl. It's chaotic. It's fights right away. We may see the same thing here in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see because I've seen very few StarCraft 2 3 vs 3s. It's not a mode that you really think of a lot in StarCraft 2. But are we going to see...
What are you talking about? When people ask me about StarCraft 2, the first thing I do is I start talking about 3v3, and then they go, no, I'm talking about GSL, and I go, oh, yeah. That,
oh,
okay.
GSL? No, I watch that too,
I watch and cast that, but mostly I'm thinking about 3v3. Yeah, especially on Infinite Mineral maps.
Yeah. Well, looking at this one, our StarCraft 1 pros are on the right side of the map, all in the blue. The bottom left as well as the top left are going to contain our StarCraft 2 pros. And this should be interesting to see exactly how far up the tech tree everyone wants to go. We already see factories for both the Terran players, those cybernetics cores, just about to finish for our Protosses, and of course, good old Zergling speed coming for at least Nestea, whereas the Roach Warren coming up for effort.
Yeah, I like the Roach Warren play a little bit more here. I get the idea of Ling speed, and that means we're probably going to have Banelings. I don't know what your take is on Banelings in a 3v3, but it does seem like if Banelings miss any of their targets at all, you are going to get overwhelmed and counterplay pretty quickly.
Maybe you can bust through wall-ins and things, kill static defense structures, something like that.
You definitely have to try to end a game quickly if you're going to go with Banelings, because you know the thing about Banelings is even though they're like the best unit in the game in a 1 versus 1, if they don't connect to their targets and there's other players that are just massing up units that can gain value over time via their damage, and the fact they can also soak some damage and then heal, that's huge.
You know, I think the explosivity of the Banelings is going to be really useful here. I guess we'll see what Nestea ends up doing, but I'm liking his choice, to be honest. With the other units from his teammates kind of supporting and getting them in there should be good. Now, we have a couple of Adepts actually shading in while some Lings come up. The Lings will attack the Queen a bit while the Adepts go for drones, and it looks like the same thing happening on the other side.
You can see already fights here and there. Again, it's important to try to have a goal as a team often. Even though you'll see skirmishes throughout the map, usually it's about trying to cripple one player early on enough that they're not very functional in a later part of the game. Ideally killing them off so that they can't do anything at all.
Yeah, a lot of Adepts out on the map right now. Immortal production starting right now for MC as well. Trying to get forward and get something done. I love the mobility of these Adepts. Look at them go.
Okay, here we go. A lot of damage being done over here. Keep in mind these SCVs that are bunched up. If these Hellion shots can connect enough, that's going to wipe out all of those workers. Huge amount of damage over here to our blue Terran.
Oh, man, this attack doing so much to last. He's trying to get out of there, losing just about every single SCV. He is not even mining at this point.
And that is the kind of damage we were talking about these players looking for. We've got an Oracle over here hitting MVP's SCVs, but keep in mind that MVP is going to be able to remake that because the Oracle has a limited amount of energy. It can't just keep dealing damage like we saw in Banshees, for instance, over here.
Oh, man, the amount of damage being dealt is so much and so quickly. Last already having to vacate his main base. A ton of SCVs very badly hurt down there at 6 o'clock. Taking that damage. Roach is coming as well. There's just non-stop action everywhere.
So much more damage being dealt over here now to the Zerg in the bottom right, but the Roaches from that Zerg come in here now, killing off as many SCVs as can be. We do have, it looks like from MC, the Immortals now out in the game. He's going to have a very robust army that can take a lot of fights against basically anything. But here, there's so much damage happening all over the place, it's hard to see who's going to really be economically viable in the next minute or two.
Yeah. Well, I would say Last is pretty darn hurt. MVP has taken a ridiculous amount of damage, but so has Effort. That leaves Rain, MC, and Nesty all kind of still in this.
That's right. We're seeing the players that have taken fatal damage try to buy time. Seconds make a huge difference. You never really want to truly give up any way that you can give assistance in a game like this. You want to try that as much as possible.
And look at this, still harassing a little bit here. Rain getting what he can done. He has a reasonable army, but I'm getting very nervous for him, right? Like, even though, for instance, MVP has very little, he still has 3 Cloaked Banshees. That's going to help a lot. Whereas Effort and Last, they literally don't have anything to fight with.
Yeah, it's a very important point. As crazy as this game has been, we're going to have to add up who's in what position now. Now, right now, MC appears to be the king of this map. I mean, this army that can push in here, especially with the Warp Prism, this is just a good army overall. Lings are going to come in here as well, and Banelings are being warped. This looks like a very tough spot here for Rain.
Yeah, Rain does not have much of a shot right here to hold on. GG is called, and I mean, it just continues to be split right down the line, right? The StarCraft 2 players are dominating in the StarCraft 2 matches. The StarCraft 1 players killing them off in those StarCraft 1 matches.
Really, I think our hardest game to follow.
Yeah.
I was struggling to cast that. It was very impressive to see the damage that was dealt early on right away, and how punishing it was. I was impressed to see that the Baneling play, although it didn't kill a player early on, it did allow them to close it out very quickly.
Sure.
And yeah, 3v3 looking pretty fun.
No, the amount of action that we saw there, I think it might be time to turn GSL into a 3 vs 3 tournament.
That's right. And that's all we're going to have as far as team games go. Up next, we're going to be doing the free-for-alls.
That's right, free-for-all time. This is going to be great. The map will be Big Game Hunters. We're going to have 3 StarCraft 2 players, 3 StarCraft 1 players, but no real alliances.
That's right. So these kind of games are very chaotic. They are ones that are absolutely, to some extent, given to chance, but they're in some ways so fun to watch because you never know who's going to come out on top. There's all these individual fights happening at different times, and you add all these different variables together, you find out who eventually is the king of the hill. So let's go ahead and hop into our games. Okay, so we're going to be on the map Big Game Hunters. It should be noted that since this is a money with incense, infinite minerals, it will be a little bit different from our like a StarCraft 2 FFA as an example, where there's just no way to ever run out.
Yeah, there's a ton of mineral patches, as you see. We just saw Effort is at 12, Rain up in the top right. Over here at 3 o'clock, we have Nesty. The bottom right corner is Last. We have MVP down in the center bottom at 6 o'clock. And in the bottom left, we're going to have MC. So everyone's playing their main race. It looks like the top left spawn and the 9 o'clock spawn both completely empty. And I gotta say, you know, I've played a lot of free-for-alls on Big Game Hunters. I've watched a lot of free-for-alls on Big Game Hunters. And that top left position is so close to Effort's base, I could see him having a powerful game here.
Yeah, it's, by the way, we have a 4-pool. Almost immediately. I think it was at the 12 o'clock spawn. I was going to say, 12, given the locations of each player and the lack thereof for the 2 vacant spawns, 12 o'clock will be the best to go into a macro game. But we're going to have quite the opposite of that.
Quite the opposite.
In this case, Effort, an agent of chaos here, is going to go with the 4-pull, squeezing out a few drones before having the fastest rush in the game.
You know, it's kind of funny, too. I bet you he was doing that to rush the top left, but his Overlord is finding that there's no one in the top left, so he's going to have to send his Zerglings elsewhere. We'll see what he ends up doing. Is he going to eliminate someone right off the bat? It is a possibility.
Yeah, over here in the top right, his neighbor is Rain. Now, the thing is, Protoss can totally hold a 4-pull. It's very doable with the Zealot and Probes, depending on how it's controlled here. And we're seeing different little tech trees here on each side. It looks like the Terrans want to go for gases very quickly here. Really, Marines in an FFA are not good units. You need to tech into something higher.
Yeah, you can't really get a lot of power early on. Now here come the Zerglings of Effort. This is going to be the first time that we actually see some action this game. They're going towards the top right, towards Rain, who, by the way, is making a forge. So he is going to be plenty safe. He just has to micro heavily here. The first Zealot is not out yet. The Zerglings start to go in, cancels that cannon. The probe's being pulled. The Zealot pops out as well. Ooh, good control so far here from Effort, picking off a probe and not losing anything yet.
You can see Rain trying to control, but that Zealot's now been surrounded. It is taken out, and that means these Lings can continue to dive on top of these probes, or even better, the pylon, which would then unpower that gateway, basically knocking Rain out. I could think we're having a lot of the players smiling and laughing right now. As you can see, this is a really, really bad spot here for Rain.
Yeah, it seemed like Rain was going to have enough, but losing that first Zealot was a crucial mistake. He's lost a lot of probes now, but as the next Zealot pops out, it doesn't seem likely that those 4 Zerglings are going to finish him off.
Yeah, he is barely hanging on, but you know, the problem is that being hurt like that at the start of a game makes it hard to get momentum later on. It's why we're seeing some of these other players make cannons immediately here to try to get some defense, because in BGH, you don't need to expand right away. You can absolutely power up.
Yeah, and that's definitely something we're going to be seeing from Nesty, who's already on 3 hatcheries, taking that fast expansion. Now, Arain making the cannon, microing his 2 Zealots very, very well here. More and more Lings have come in from Effort. He's really trying to kill Rain off, but with only a couple Lings left over, it seems like this rush is held and Rain is going to be fine.
Yeah, if there's a cannon, even not that well placed, it's hard for the 4-pooling player to really close it out. By the way, there's drones now on gas. There's more drones on gas at 12 o'clock than there are on minerals.
Well,
literally.
Effort is smiling something fierce right now. I think he realizes that he's put himself into a terrible position after that rush.
Yeah, he's literally in a worse position than Rain is, and he was the first player to be attacked.
Yeah.
Effort gave up any opportunity of propelling himself into a healthy game later on here. So I think the story as we get further and further along here is really going to be about our 3 players, I guess our 4 players here in the bottom.
Well, I do like how MVP's playing. He's got a siege tank. He's got a nice wall, so it seems like he can't really die. We also saw MC in the bottom left making multiple cannons at his choke, so he's going to be completely safe from any incoming attacks, at least for the time being. And I saw another command center being made by Last. So you're right, those players down at the bottom doing a pretty good job, but the greediest player here is Nesty by a mile.
I love what he's doing here, powering up, getting the 3rd hatch here, getting the layer, setting up these sunken colonies. Then again, though, you know, BGH, I do feel that Zerg, if you're going to go for the money game here, they tend to be the weakest. Zerg seem to be a race that they don't. Am I wrong about this? It just seems to me like Protoss with Mass Carrier Arbiter probably the best play there is.
Yeah.
What does Zerg want at BGH?
No, you're quite right. It's hard to play Zerg in big free-for-alls. They don't really have that end-game army. Some players like to go for Guardians and try to utilize those for a massive air army. Other than that, you're kind of sitting around with Defilers, right? It's tough, though. They're generally not the free-for-all king.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done, especially with players of this caliber. They know the game in and out. They're able to be very creative with units, but not sure what exactly is going to happen, especially for Nesty. It's important to note here, I think the strongest player here, just based off positions, is MC. And that's because he's in the bottom left. He has bases all the way to the top of the map above him he can take. But he's also not wedged in between 2 players. All the other players are sandwiched, with the exception of Effort, who has the worst economy of all because he's purple.
Yeah, and he's continuing to be that agent of chaos that you mentioned before, which is kind of funny. Now, a couple DTs actually walking down to the bottom right towards Last. I'm not sure what detection he has. Oh my god, a double tank drop from MVP up on Effort? That's not something I expected. These DTs look like they think they can fit through that hole. They can't.
Yeah, I thought they could fit through there too, but you know, the way that the buildings are designed is pretty deceptive. By the way, Effort, the first to be knocked out. That is called karma.
Yes.
Right there. You 4-pull first. You better be the first to lose here. All the other players laughing right now. Effort turns his camera off, and now it's 5 players remaining in our free-for-all.
Oh, man. These DTs, by the way, from MC doing quite a bit of damage. MVP
Whoa.
is teching up to nukes.
What is that building? A
Oh,
ghost?
my gosh. This is going to be fantastic, Taze.
This isn't the single player. We have a ghost in this game.
Dude, MVP really is the GOAT, isn't he? I mean, he already killed Effort with just 2 siege tanks.
That's right.
And now here he is going into nukes for us.
So, siege tank drops here. This is not long for this world. As mutas are out. I was wondering what the story was, but I guess he's just trying to be active there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some spots on BGH once you get additional bases up here where you can nuke from a distance, but we're going to end up in a TVZ fight here where it's Nesty diving on top of MVP with these Mutalisks wiping out these Goliaths.
Yeah, those mutas, though, they can definitely get some real damage done. Nesty getting some revenge maybe for some of the earlier games where they didn't go so well for him. It looks like the Mutalisks, yeah, they're picking off a lot of SCVs. Last making Goliaths, so he will eventually push them out.
And again, quietly on the map is MC. Now note he got a Dark Archon. Now in a free-for-all on BGH, in some ways the Dark Archon can be the best unit in the game.
Sure.
If you are to get into a long, drawn-out game, because you can steal an SCV or a drone.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, although the game caps you on 200 supply, that's for your race. If you steal an SCV, you get another 200 supply of Terran. If you steal a drone, another 200 supply of Zerg. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility we want to keep in our minds, because oftentimes on BGH, if you can steal a worker, go back and make a hatchery or a command center and start to tech up from there, the other side will concede.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're going to have a nuke.
Oh,
this is so crazy because
yeah.
there's so many players at once playing. There's a chance Last doesn't notice this right away.
Yeah, I know. You hear a nuke and you're like, well, where would that be? You might not even be looking, but I think he actually realized exactly where it's at. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Oh, this nuke is gonna hit!
I don't think he had a skin. I think he was out of his skin.
Oh my god!
I think by our rules, that means that he wins the FFA now, right? We can end this whole thing.
He is
That's a moral
aptly
victory
named at MVP. Okay, that is insanity. In the meantime, we actually have MC attacking Nesty here. He brings up his Archon trio. Dark Archon ready for those mutas to come in.
We actually have so much damage happening here, and with just Mutalisks, I mean, maybe he could get a... Oh my god, he beat me to it. I was going to say, if he has Maelstrom, he can just catch those mutas, and the Archon can clean up most of the rest here. But this is a lot of damage over here for Nesty.
Yeah, Nesty losing a big chunk of his economy and a big chunk of his mutas, as is Last getting nuked on his main command center. This is just wild. Who do you think's doing the best so far, Tasteless?
I think it's MC. He's taking a base here. Nesty looked like he had made the right decisions up until this moment, but the problem is, look, mutas are great. You can mass muta against a meching player in the bottom right, but then you fight a Protoss. You cannot mass muta for too long against Protoss. They will kill you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see your point there, but I want to raise you nukes and BCs at the same time from MVP. What do you think about that?
I would say
Tasteless?
for style points, if this was a diving competition, then yes.
Yeah.
If this was synchronized swimming,
if this was some sort of art contest,
yes, then there's no question. Then this game is a Picasso, okay? But if we're talking about who's got the right units to actually destroy the buildings at the end of the game, I think we know.
Well, we have another nuke going off right now, and it looks like it's going to be on MC. MC sees it. He's pulling his probes. He's pulling his probes.
Can he get him out fast enough?
Yeah,
Mostly dodged, actually.
Still a decent nuke. Oh, the mutas! Nesty's mutas coming up and killing all the probes that went to the natural. As Storm goes down, a couple of them, in fact, kill a lot of those. But that was a lot of damage to his economy.
Okay, he might have enough for Maelstrom. No, he's the mutas pull out just in the nick of time. And this has already been such a crazy game here. Keep in mind, nobody's economy is to the point where they're looking unstoppable. Again, even though we see a Zerg knocked onto one base, this is BGH. They can definitely get the hatcheries and the production to be completely viable to propel themselves into winning this game.
Wow, this is just a wild one. There is so much action going on. Look at the BC count as well, up to 4 battle cruisers here for MVP. You know, I was joking before about MVP, but battle cruisers are pretty badass in a free-for-all.
It's funny because we normally think about them as this unit that kind of drags the game to a halt in a TVT and occasionally gets stylistic in TVZ, but it's great to see him here now. The problem is that battle cruisers don't lend themselves to mobility, especially against other Terran players. Usually we see battle cruisers made when everything else is not an option, right?
Yeah.
Yamato is basically the air siege tank shot that can slowly allow you to chip away through your opponent over time.
Well, we'll see what he gets done with it, but he's definitely going to gain a lot of value. Looks like he's going to drop another ghost here right over the turret.
He says, why do you attack me? I love the banter here.
Yeah.
Nuke, by the way, how cavalier can you possibly be? A nuke right on the command center?
Again, this is all he goes for. Is just he wants the money nukes. Is
I know.
The thing.
Well, he's making this game a very interesting one at that. By the way, again, on BGH, there are positions, and we're looking at one right now, where you can hit another player's minerals with siege tanks from a distance. So, although we have Terrans on both sides taking expansions, neither might be able to mine resources from them.
Oh yeah, that's a real big possibility. We also see Nesty right now. He's got a lot of mutants just kind of sitting there. He's taking a lot of damage this game. MVP taking that expansion, coming over to the other expansion, but look at this, a lot of Goliaths here to push back his BCs.
And I'm not sure about the MVP player position here because he's fighting off Protoss and Terran. And again, a lot of this just kind of comes down to who is given a better spawn. And so it's why Effort really squandered possibly winning this game by 4-pooling, as fun as it was to cast. But as the game pans out, Rain, by the way, who we've mostly ignored through this game, he was the player who was beat up during the 4-pool.
Oh, yeah.
He is starting to come out on the map. He has a lot of space, by the way. I mean, really the top left side of the map is his to take if he can manage to do so. He may end up becoming a dominant force later on.
That is a real possibility. People have been leaving alone because he was not in that area, whereas all of these scuffles at the bottom, seems like Nesty taking the rough side of that. He is, in fact, going up towards Guardians, and that's going to help a lot against a Reaver push.
Yeah, this Reaver push coming in here, it's funny because Nesty's done a really good job in these games, but honestly, he has been the punching bag for a lot in this, whether even MC was attacking him.
Yeah.
Think of where MC is on the map here. But they are starting to push in here now, and this could be the beginning of the end here. Those storms doing so much damage to those mutants.
Nesty needs hold on. He splits his Guardians up a little bit. Let's see what he can target down here. Great Psy Storms going down onto these Guardians, putting a lot of damage on them. The Goons can fight well against them as well. Rain coming in and punishing Nesty even more.
Okay, you can see here the mutants taking so much damage here, but really it's about buying time so the Guardians can clean this up. But a Reaver shot in BGH is worth way more than a Reaver shot in any normal game of StarCraft because that's all the workers in that position there.
Huge amounts of damage going down to Nesty. He might end up being our second one eliminated. You know, we were talking about how Zerg has a hard time in free-for-alls. I think this is showing it a bit, right? You're going up to Hive for Guardians. That's not as strong as BCs.
Okay, the BC's getting stormed here, but overall continuing to do damage and chip away at MC, who doesn't... It's a funny thing because Protoss can beat Terrans if they go battle cruisers, but if there's a bunch of battle cruisers, they don't normally have an easy response. They're going to have to get Dark Archons and mind control, but that's actually not easy to do. A battle cruiser can avoid the Dark Archon. It takes a long time to get the energy from mind control.
Yeah. Well, he is making Dark Archons, right? He's got 3 of them. So eventually, I think we are going to see him stealing some battle cruisers, which would be really painful for MC or for MVP. But MVP knocks out that Nexus. Looks like MC is going to try to take 9 o'clock. But Rain now has eliminated Nesty. Nesty is the second one out of this, and is starting to push down into last a little bit.
Game is growing at a very odd way. Whoa. Oh my gosh. I got confused by the colors for a second.
That was
That's
like
last dropping MVP.
That's like 4 dropships of Goliaths and a siege tank for good measure. The BCs look like they're going to go for a counterattack. It felt like MVP was doing a great job this game, but last really punishing.
Another drop comes in over here. These battle cruisers doing so much damage. This almost seems like it's slowly going to become a fight between our two Protosses and Last. It's just hard to imagine MVP ever fighting back and breaking free from the two players in between him and the one uncontrolled player in the north.
Yeah, well, he's bringing back the Goliaths in the dropships, so the BCs should get picked off now. MC wondering what's going on, asking Rain if he's going to take it.
Yeah, oh, he's lying too. I don't even have a natural. That's not true, Ray.
No, it's not true at all. You have one right there. We just saw it.
You know, I think Ray might actually win this.
He is
how
looking
just
good.
would that be after being the first to be rushed to then
I
be the
know.
last?
Took a lot of damage from effort this game earlier on. So that is karmic justice coming back for him. He holds on against the vicious Zerg, and now everyone's left him alone to just grow as he wants in the top right.
And you know, I don't know the math on this exactly. I'm sure somebody who plays BGH does, but is it ever worth it to have 3 mining bases on BGH? I mean, there is a limit to how many workers you want to make.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Because, you know, part of me that's so used to casting maps where the resources mine out very quickly, i.e. normal maps, I'm used to thinking 3 bases is really when a player can power up, but it seems like there's nothing of convenience by having 3 bases.
I guess, yeah, you're right. With the amount of probes you can actually put on 1 base, you could be right on that, yeah. Look at this, another mass Goliath drop here, taking out the main nexus of MC. Now, one thing I want to mention is MC made like 10 Dark Archons, probably to steal battlecruisers, but the battlecruisers are all dead. What is he going to use those for right now?
Yeah, what is he going to use those for right now? There's actually, here's a question. Are there any drones inside the base of Nesty? Could Rain go down there and mind control that? Because they basically become dud units.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, there could be some effort drones, there could be some Nesty drones left over. I think it might be even more powerful to steal like an SCV, but stealing anything at this point would be really nice. I really want to see MC actually utilize those Dark Archons he's spent so much money on.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? I mean, I think out of all the plays in BGH, really the strongest is to steal a worker, but this is also a game where it's been, oddly enough, kind of like a mid to late game fight in all the matchups, right? We saw the players tech up immediately and try to duke it out. So it's you know, in those situations, it's hard to steal a worker, but just some food for thought.
Last right now, really macroing very, very well. He has a ton of units, the highest supply in the game. MVP has so little. You know, he had so many flashy plays already this game, but he's taken massive amounts of damage. He is in the middle of everyone, like you pointed out. So a very tough position for him to try to stay alive.
So, we have Rain beginning to really stretch out on the map. Oh my God.
Here they come.
Now that's more
the red
Dark
caterpillar, as we call it.
I was trying to figure out what exactly that looks like. That's more Dark Archons than you'll see in all of competitive StarCraft 1 combined. So that's
for a whole year.
Yeah, for a whole year. That's quite a bit. But yeah, what do you do with that exactly right now? Those were intended to steal the battlecruisers, which are of not much utility.
I love, by the way, the idea that Last has come into this with. He's not making anything fancy, just lots of dropships and flying his units around, hurting everybody.
I just don't know how long this can possibly work. I mean, realistically, on any map connected by land, dropping mech onto Protoss as if they were Terran is really the Protoss' dream. Okay, hold on, here we go. Ready up.
Here we
go!
Mind controls going down, stealing siege tanks, stealing battlecruisers.
Get an SCV!
He better get an SCV. There it is. There it is. He's got it. He's got it. Pull it out of there. Don't let the splash damage kill it.
Oh, come on! He loses
the splash damage killed it. He's got to steal another one. Don't worry, he has plenty of Dark Archons. He can steal plenty.
He's got enough. If he gets it. If he gets it.
Oh, the ghost of MVP going down. MVP might GG coming up here, I have to say.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
look
that's
at you,
it.
Miss Cleo of casting this game. Yeah, that's it. MVP's out. Now, if I'm MC, I'm going to steal a unit here. By the way, Rain is going to push through, clean up whatever MC has in this spot over here. And oddly enough, I think Rain might have been too ambitious in this game. it didn't seem like Last had any other plan other than to just keep dropping this. Now, Rain only has 700 minerals on the map, and he has a Nexus over here, but I just want to point out, sometimes, even in BGH, you can kill their workers to kill the Nexus, and they don't have money.
Yeah. If you're macroing really well throughout the game in a high action game like this, it can happen.
Usually, BGH is for low-skilled players, and so a lot of times players imagine it as just games where they can endlessly make units. But when you get good players like we're seeing here, they're all spending their money quite well.
Yeah.
And so that makes for quite a different game.
Look at this, a recall going down in last space. Some Psy Storms appear, but of course he will be able to clean this up. Last hasn't taken damage in a long time, has a huge amount of production here, and is going to clean this without too much to say. Look at that. Oh, he did steal an SCV, and his command center is almost done.
It's over. I'm calling it for him.
Oh, this is amazing.
Does it bump the supply up here on our screen from the observer spot? I actually don't know.
Yeah, you don't. It's not every day that you observe a game like this one.
I wonder if they programmed that into Remastered here. I don't.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because what happens when you steal another race in this game is that you get a whole new set of supply.
Yeah, I'm actually fairly certain that it's just going to see the supply go above 200 at this point. But,
okay. Well, just so people understand, the math functions a little bit differently.
Yeah, see, MC 206 of 210. He can go up to 400 supply now, but it has to be 200 in Terran and 200 in Protoss.
That's right. And if he wants to go up to 600 supply, he needs to steal a drone.
Yes. I don't think I've ever seen that, but maybe today is the day.
I would welcome it.
Yeah.
That would be a great BlizzConline. Now, the Nexus is coming down. Again here for Rain in the main. And we will see if he can start to recuperate. But Last, he's really blowing me away this game. He kind of willed his way through all this.
Yeah. He has put on so much damage. Oh my gosh, he kills the army, he kills the Nexuses. So that means we are down to Last against MC. MC has mass cannons, mass Dark Archons, a couple battle cruisers to boot. He's going up into Terran Tech right now.
So this would be the Terran dream, to come back and smash a Protoss that has also stolen Terran units. But can he actually do it?
Well, he's got the best army right now in a lot of ways with these siege tanks, but you know, I guess if you can steal enough of them, push it back, buy yourself a bit of time, you'll be okay. It's just the overall supply, yes, it's higher for MC, but most of it's in Dark Archons.
Yeah, he might want to just, I don't know what you do with those Dark Archons. Recall them somewhere, recall them on top, and try to mind control everything. I don't know how you use this very effectively.
Yeah,
but it's just, it's a funny situation because you invest supply in certain units for certain situations, and then when you have, you know, supply sitting there and stuff that you can't really use, that's a problem.
Well, he's trying to mind control, but the Dark Archon's getting in the way more than anything else here. Some Psy Storms going down. Great Psy Storms. Yeah, look at that. Starting to steal some of these tanks as well. The Dark Archon's trying to be as worthwhile as they can be.
Oh, this is crazy. I've never seen a push with Dark Archons where they're just mind controlling stuff, but I guess that's BGH where you really can kind of bend the rules of the game here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe from here MC can simply topple Last.
Maybe. Last still has a lot of production, let's not forget. Maybe he can do a big drop and deal some damage to him elsewhere. But yeah, it's looking pretty good for MC. There's not a lot of gas left for our Terran player.
Yeah, well also, you know, the Terran can actually, once again, get 100 more SCVs mining here.
Yeah.
So get production to an insane level. And then start to make tanks, start to make, I guess you don't really need to make dropships. You can make shuttles are actually better than dropships.
Yeah.
What else do you want to make? You just make tanks?
Tanks. It's all about the tanks, Tasteless. The tank is the main unit in Terran vs. Terran. So if you can set up tanks defensively, you're going to be in a great spot. Hard to break. It looks like Last is still okay here, but it's looking better and better right now for MC.
Ooh, I'll stop messing around. Ooh. Watch out. Like, listen, man, he's already mind-controlled Terran. Look, LOL. Ha, ha, ha.
And he is starting to make mass factories. Okay, big drop coming out here from Last. He's got 8 dropships full. Invading the Terran base. He sees what MC has over here.
Is he just going to go right past us?
I think I would go for the Protoss base.
We can't kill the humans. They're innocent in this whole situation.
They don't want to be there. Well, luckily here for MC, he doesn't have all of his gateways rallied, so the Dragoon's going to help against this drop. A massive drop does come into the main base of MC, but it's actually cleaned up very quickly.
Yeah, this is why, again, you don't see drops like... What's happened, basically, is that Last has a Terran vs. Terran composition and playstyle that is not going to beat a Protoss. you need to push through the Protoss, contain and control them. And I think that MC right now is just too free on the map.
Well, you say that. Maybe he's lucky because he's playing against Terran as well now? Oh, man, look at this. The Dark Archon's coming up, doing some more damage here. What is Last supposed to do against twice the supply of what he has?
You're supposed to find a special key on the keyboard and hit it 2 times. It's the G key, Artosis.
Ooh.
He's dead. He's done. There's just no way.
Definitely seems like that.
Yeah, that you're going to recover from this because now MC can just flood you. And in case you guys are wondering, because this is more of a casual setting for this game, does this ever happen in competitive 1v1 play? It's too hard to ever get to this moment.
Yeah.
But a player like MC on the corner left unattended and with this many other players in the game can take it. GG. Wow.
Yeah, in a well-deserved victory here for MC. He gets the style points, stealing that SCV from MVP and then making Terran units himself, mass Dark Archons. You can't get better than that.
He might have won it anyways, but we were mentioning this earlier on, with that many players leaving the game before all their buildings are destroyed, which is very normal for a StarCraft game. Of course you're going to be able to find a stray SCV or a stray drone or something. And not only can you find it, you can take it. And even though most of this game was Protoss crushing Terran at the end, the looming threat, the impending threat of tanks, of everything else that Terran can make, coming your way, doubling the supply, there's nothing you can do.
Well played there by MC. Definitely the champion of that first free-for-all, but our next one is going to be in StarCraft 2.
And it's going to be the same 6 players again. Our game is ready to start here. Now, this is another situation where it's kind of hard to grow to be too big until the rest of the players are eliminated. So we're going to see exactly who chooses to do what. Let's not forget effort 4 pooled in an FFA to start this off in StarCraft 1. Maybe he'll do something similar here in this game as well.
Yeah.
Okay, game started up. And we are going to have a similar horseshoe shape as far as spawns here. It's almost as if we took the previous game and then turned the map on its side.
Yeah.
And so the vacant locations will be in bottom center and bottom left.
Yeah, we have Nesty up at 12. Then in the top right corner, we saw MVP, followed by MC at 3. We have Effort in the bottom right. Rain over at 9 o'clock. And the top left spawn is going to be last. All right, very cool. That means our 2 closest spawns on BGH are always the top left and the top center. So that's where we might possibly see the earliest fireworks.
Again, when you have this much of an income, it is always helpful to still get another base. Keep in mind, StarCraft 2, you can't super saturate on patches like you can in StarCraft 1. But yeah, it's hard to get an overwhelming amount of the map until most of the players have been eliminated.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many bases we'll actually end up seeing here because, again, there's like a lot of mobility that was added in StarCraft 2. You can definitely get a lot of damage done quickly with the great harassment tools you have. So I do think we're going to see some fireworks right off the bat. A couple gateways going down here for MC, just teching up. It would be cool to see, like our Protoss players, for instance. Are you going to go Adepts for that ultimate mobility and that strong early damage, or maybe the Stalkers to build a stronger mid-game army?
I almost feel like it's Stalkers, but you never know. It's hard to say. We should also note that there is not any over-the-top, ridiculous, broken stuff in StarCraft 2 FFA like there is in StarCraft 1, and I'm talking about the Dark Archon being able to steal a unit. That is in a game that is not players engaging each other directly, and that's an FFA where somebody might go neglected. You can that is game swinging. on a map like this, and in StarCraft 2, I don't think there's anything quite of the sort.
No, I mean, you could neural parasite a probe and start a Nexus right on the spot, but that's
Do it
not very
over and
likely.
over, yeah.
Or, yeah, like a chained set of neurals against an SCV to make a command center. That would take a while.
That would take some time. So
that's a lot of mana there.
Yeah, so it's not something I imagine we're going to have happen. And I just want to point that out because that was such a theme in our previous game.
Mm-hmm. Well, it ended up deciding it, so definitely not going to be the case here. We do have some Adepts and some Stalkers, so different choices coming out.
One thing to note on this map, and it's true even in the StarCraft 1 version of the map, but the top center and top left, those two players in those spawns always have a private fight. They have to have. They're always going to be close together. They sort of share awkward, because this map is actually designed to look pretty much identical to the old map, which was never really a balanced map.
Oh, no, it's not balanced at all.
No.
The two top left positions, like if someone owns that whole area, that is so powerful. It's just so easy to defend it all. It's all in one choke. It's 3 bases, basically. So definitely very important. And look at this. He's actually going to go ahead for a Baneling bust. Busts right through, but can he actually break everything? There's a Hellion here helping out. There's a bunker as well.
Somehow this Baneling can't get on top of the bunker to get a kill, so a lot more of those Lings are actually killed by the Hellion. A little bit of miscontrol there.
Yeah, not doing as well as I think he hoped. That Baneling bust, not quite enough. And the tech will continue for our Terran player.
Over here, we've got some Adepts fighting the drones, doing some damage. But this won't last too much longer. But again, you know, as I said before, it's oftentimes a fight between 12 and 1 o'clock. We're seeing it here now. And this may allow the Terran over here in the very upper right to last for a long time.
Yeah, we just saw some good Adept harassment in the bottom right. But I like the fact that Zerg has another base up, right? Effort's doing a good job macro-wise, pushing his creep spread out a bit as well, and he's kind of the furthest from everyone.
Immortals coming into play. This gives you a lot more sustainability here. And I do like that we're seeing Rain tech into that. I always feel like if you're going to be too aggressive in an FFA, I'm not sure what exactly you're doing, because if anybody else is paying attention to you, then you die.
Look at this. Hellions coming in and seeing what they can get done. The Lings being absolutely shredded. Some Banshee harassment as well. There is just action picking up absolutely everywhere right now.
Okay, Lings are doing so much damage over there to those batteries, and these Banshees now taking on this fight, trying to drive some of those attacking units away here. And it's kind of funny that we're seeing Banshees sort of everywhere suddenly. It really goes to show you that in a lot of ways, Banshees are a direct answer to so many other units, especially in the early game.
Yeah.
And there's so many games that we don't have, that are free-for-alls where the Banshee is something that allows a player to last and hang on. It makes a lot of sense to see some of these guys teching into 2-port Banshee.
Yeah, MVP, of course, as well. We've seen him really favor the Banshees all day. So doing a great job with that once again. Coming in here, oh god, there's a shield battery, but is that going to be enough against 2 Banshees? Probably not. Oh, in the meantime, GG coming out of Nest T here, being eliminated by a very strong push from MC.
I get the idea that, Nest T wanted to try to just come out and smash early on, but it did not end up working out. And you can really see here with the roaming that, an army with Stalkers and Immortals that's this strong can fight basically any unit comp.
Oh, that's for sure, Tasteless. That's been a theme of StarCraft for a very long time, especially when MC's involved.
It's one of the things with Protoss at StarCraft 2 is that this exact army is like, I could put my hand over the screen on whatever is on the other side of that. It's like they're going to be having a hard time. It's a pretty good army no matter how you cut it.
100%. MVP continuing to spread his love, or maybe it's hatred, with these Banshees, sending them over here, dealing a huge amount of damage to that mineral line as well. MC, taking a big hit.
Now let's go big picture here. Who's doing very well? We've got...
I feel like MVP's doing all right here.
Effort is still strong. He's been probably the most ignored out of the players in this game here.
Yeah.
And then I would say it's MC. I mean, MVP looks good, but Banshees eventually you need units that actually fight and don't just kill off workers.
Maybe MVP's having too much fun in all these free-for-alls because he's dealing a lot of damage, but you're right. Look at this. A ton of Blink Stalkers just walking in, and MVP can do nothing but laugh because he has been focusing on just hurting people with Banshees. He doesn't have anything that can fight this.
Yeah, and so suddenly these Stalkers, there is no answer for this. This is a fatal amount of damage. But meanwhile, we have a push over here, and the blue base completely vacant here at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, MC in some trouble, no doubt. I mean, everyone is just starting to die all over the place. It seems like this all might be benefiting Effort.
Yeah, Effort, who's been playing single player this whole time, had it right all along. It's about not engaging anybody in an FFA. That's how you beat everybody else in an FFA. So we are getting very close to having 2 players left here.
Yeah, it looks like Effort now with a bunch of mutas flying in, cleaning up the scraps of that Protoss base. And I guess, MVP technically still has buildings, so his Banshee's going to keep doing this harassment.
Okay, a recall back home, but unless I'm mistaken here, I mean, the economic engine here for our Zerg player in the red, which is Effort, is just going to be way too much to stop for any one player. I mean, having 2 bases, again, this is BGH, so production can get insane.
Yeah.
I do worry. I worry about anybody who's going to have to deal with them. Also, if you look at the top left, the white player and the green player are going to be fighting each other out a lot. Stalkers are still doing damage, and obviously there's no coming back from that for the blue player, so that's going to be it.
Yeah. Right now, Effort looking very strong. Of course, we have Rain looking strong as well. We still have a bunch of Stalkers out on the map, even though he's lost basically everything, trying to deal some additional damage before he goes. So will this just turn into Effort against Rain?
I think it will. These Stalkers are going to be eliminated. It's no real damage here to Rain. To Effort. Effort is just going to close this out. He ignores it.
One thing we need to mention is actually Last has been left alone quite a bit. He's actually going into battle cruisers here. He's got a lot of mines as well, which are going to really damage this mutilating army.
God.
Oh my God.
Definitely a bad idea there. It looked like it was basically an empty base, but instead they just attacked in. That was huge.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage done to Effort. He is not used to that happening to his Mutalisks when he flies around. That is not a StarCraft 1 thing.
No, definitely not the case there. Now, our Green Terran over here, Rain, just on the left side, he's got a good army, but he doesn't have growth on his side. And I like that he stayed back. It's the same is true over here for Last, in the upper left. But I just don't see how Zerg can ever be taken unless they were to team up together, which they can't do, and try to fight it together and then betray each other.
Yeah. MC, by the way, throwing away his last few Stalkers here. He's already lost just about everything, so I think we might be seeing a GG out of him. Yeah, there he goes. And that means we only have StarCraft 1 players left here. In the top left, we have Last going Widowmine BC. We have Rain, who's had kind of a balanced army overall, getting Blink now for his Stalkers. And then we have Effort in the bottom right going Ling Muta. Very StarCraft 1-esque unit composition. So, I mean, it's anyone's guess who is supposed to take this. Do battle cruisers beat mass Blink Stalkers? Does the mobility of Zergling Mutalisk trump all?
I'm going with the Zerg here. Because Zerg, well, it's not just that. It's not just, the position. It's also the ability to shift in what unit comps you want. Zerg's already pretty good at that, but Effort's really developed quite a bit here. Rain may be able to push Effort here and just try to slam him, and maybe that works. I don't know that it is, but I think that's what the game plan is try to push out, and maybe Effort's been a little bit too active on the map, and that can be punished.
Yeah, maybe that is the case. There's a lot of sentries for some Guardian Shield and Force Fields to stop the Zerglings. He's got a lot of Stalkers, so maybe he can take that out. But, normally Ling Muta is pretty good overall if you don't have that splash damage. I gotta say, I'm kind of liking Last's position. The more I'm looking at this, battle cruisers are no joke.
It is a very good point, especially if these guys keep fighting as they are like this. And you know, Ling Muta is very strong, but when facing a very sophisticated Protoss army, especially one with pretty good positions, it's hard to ignore this. We see the Mutas coming in here now. I'm not sure how strong these Stalkers are going to be against these Mutas. It seems like the Muta number just isn't getting any smaller, because as the Mutas continue to press forward, they're not backing off. The Stalker count is getting lower. I don't see much back at home. And I think Effort may be implementing the killing blows here on Rain.
Yeah, he's got a lot of economy behind this as well, and it does look like he's going to end up killing Rain. Rain is going to type in GG and get out of here. He lost his army. Nothing left over to defend, and now we are down to a Terran versus Zerg. We have Last in the top left, playing with battlecruisers and mines, and of course, Mass Mutalisk Zergling from Effort, who is taking over the entire bottom of the map.
Okay, the Lings are going to come through, doing so much damage over here to these workers. Now, you were bringing this up earlier, Artosis, but I guess the big question is, can you just keep teching into battlecruisers? Battlecruisers are a funny unit in a ZBT, and we're basically in a 1v1 now, right? Where the players are going to be in the position that they got themselves into. A lot of battlecruisers can be very tough.
Yeah.
We're seeing Infestation Pit come down here. Maybe Neural Parasite's the answer. I guess the question is, how quickly will Last act on this?
Yeah, Neural Parasite is great. Fungal Growth can be quite strong as well. Even just getting up to Hives for some more upgrades so you can go Corruptors later could be good also. But, you know, here's the thing. These guys are not active StarCraft 2 pros. They're active StarCraft 1 pros. So they might not know the ins and outs that the active StarCraft 2 players know about how to fight against battlecruisers or how to fight against Zerg with battlecruisers.
Banshee coming up here now. And again, there's a lot of workers in a BGH game, so it's not like killing a few of these is going to be that impactful here. I do wonder, though, I feel like, you know, Zerg's now growing at a rate that's going to be so scary. And there are plenty of battlecruisers. There's 6 out here now, but I don't believe that you can teleport across the map and hit any location. And I don't believe you can move across the map. Yeah. The Mutas would just fly in there, kill a few of them as they teleport back. So I am seeing, you know, a play from Last that seemed to be set up to make him be in the game for a long time, but it's not one that's going to allow him to actually kill a Zerg that's now dominating the map.
Yeah, I definitely do see what you're saying there. I guess maybe the mines can help him out long term.
Sure.
Right? Like if you have the mines with your battlecruisers, let's say the Mutas all dive upon them, you could get that massive splash damage and maybe deal damage, you know, teleport across the map and hurt him before he can remax on his Mutalisks. But yeah, it does seem like a tall order for him to actually do anything to Effort. Sure, he can stay alive, but how do you win?
Yeah, that's the tough part. How do you win indeed, Artosis? Like, it's you could see Effort just seizing and controlling. Look at the creep in the middle of the map. Completely insane.
Yeah, he is taking everything over. You can see that insane APM that Effort has always had being put to use. People forget he was a very strong StarCraft 2 pro for a very short amount of time before he turned into Brood War. But he knows how the game works. He is pushing his creep all over the place. He is taking control of the map. What's he on, like 5 bases? And it's BGH.
Yeah, and you know, from there, how many bases do you have to eliminate? It looks like Last is going to try to squeeze into the top center, as this game is slowing down to a crawl. But you know, I'm sorry, do we know what the supply is of Last? I guess we can't quite see it on this screen, but he's going to eventually max out, and then I'm sure he's going to try to teleport somewhere, take a fight, and then I guess we just have to see how it's going to go.
Well, you know what? He's adding in some Ravens. He's continuing his BC count. I do like how he's pushing around and gaining more bases, slowly but surely. And yeah, I mean, he's getting that crazy army. That's the point, right? That's the plan. Hey, look at this. Effort's actually coming up. Look at that. The mines with some sick connections. Now, there are a ton of Corruptors here, and he's dealing a lot of damage. Oh, no tactical jumps coming out of Last.
Yeah, he's just not making the jumps, at least not fast enough, as these Corruptors continue to come through here and tear apart every battlecruiser remaining. And what a twist this is, as in Game 1, Effort 4-pooling and dying first. But in our second FFA on StarCraft 2, in beautiful late game play. He is going to dominate and come out victorious as the last player alive in this FFA. GG.
Wow, really well done there. By effort, he really was he took that fast expansion. It felt like he was in a good spot throughout the entire game, and he finished it very, very well. I also do want to point out something that's kind of funny, right? Like, during the 2v2s and 3v3s, the players from that game won. During the free-for-alls, the players from the opposite game won.
Also, in the free-for-alls, it was the players who were the most neglected and indecent spawns that managed to pull out ahead. Again, if you want to win a free-for-all, you have to be retracted. If you're attacking into somebody else, you're probably not spending money developing your own tech, your own army, and therefore you're going to be in a bad position later on.
Yeah, well, we definitely saw that work out. MC in the corner, having a great time. Effort at the bottom of the map alone, having a great time as well.
So as you guys can see on our results here, it was the PvPs battling it out. Stork and Rain taking it first. After that, Last and Effort.
Yeah, and of course, in the StarCraft 1 side of things, we had the StarCraft 1 players win the 2v2s and the 3v3s, and vice versa, of course, with the StarCraft 2 ones. As far as the 3v3 match went, same story.
Yes. I actually had a lot of fun doing these 3v3s, and I'm glad we got to end this on the free-for-alls. As you guys can see here on our screen, it is MC and Effort who came out last. Beautiful.
Yeah, Nesty did not have a great showing in the free-for-alls, as you see. He was first eliminated in the StarCraft 2 one, and second eliminated in the StarCraft 1 one. And look at that, Last was actually second place in both, Rain third place in both. Wow, look at that. That's some cool stats.
Yeah. Free-for-alls, while not as competitive, they are a lot of fun to watch, and it's always a drama about who's going to spawn where, what kind of fights you have, what decisions are made early on, and I'm glad we got to cast some of them here for BlizzConline.
Yeah, definitely very fun. The StarCraft Legends match, delivering, I would say.
I would say so. It's so cool to have these guys come together and have some fun matches for us. I know the world isn't complete. Lockdown here with COVID. We can't all have these gatherings like we used to in the past, but hopefully that's going to be changing in the future. But I appreciate these guys who have been such a big part of history coming together, joining us here, and giving us some great entertainment in such a classic game.
Yeah, they were great games, great entertainment as well. Let's go ahead and jump to a quick interview with them, see what they think of that match.
이런 블리즈컨 같은 큰 무대에서 좀 더 멋진 경기력을 보여드리지 못해서 너무 죄송합니다. 앞으로 더 열심히 해가지고 좋은 모습 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 블리즈컨이라는 게 블리자드 게임의 모든 게임들을 그리고 많은 홍보나 소식들을 제공해주는 그런 파티잖아요. 그래서 좋은 축제가 됐으면 좋겠고 좋은 시간 보냈으면 좋겠습니다.
네, 오랜만에 경기를 이렇게 스타 1, 2를 하게 돼서 너무 재미있었고 비록 온라인이지만 블리즈컨 재밌게 즐겨주시고 네, 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
스타 1에서 이제 2대2에서는 아쉽게 졌지만 개인전에서 제가 압도적인 승리를 거뒀기 때문에 사실상 뭐 우승자가 아닌가 이 이벤트에서.
네, 오랜만에 이런 또 큰 이벤트 매치에 초대해 주셔서 너무 감사하고 정치의 중요성을 좀 많이 느꼈던 것 같아요. 앞으로도 이제 스타 1과 2 둘 다 이제 많이 사랑해 주시고 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
제가 운 좋게 오랜만에 스타2를 개인전에서 이기게 돼서 너무 기쁘고요. 생각했던 대로 또 재미있게 경기한 것 같아서 뿌듯한 것 같습니다. 앞으로도 이제 더 많은 경기, 좋은 경기 보답해드릴 테니까 많은 응원 부탁드리겠습니다.
많은 팬분들이랑 또 이렇게 블리자드에서 또 기억해 주시고 초대해 주셔서 정말 감사드리고 다음에 또 이런 거 있으면은 재밌는 경기 할 테니까 그때 꼭 응원 많이 해주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 네, 저도 너무 즐거웠고요. 감사드립니다.
네, 경기 시청해 주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 블리즈컨 앞으로 남은 이벤트들 많이 시청해 주시고 저를 영원히 잊지 말아 주시길 바랍니다. 다들 새해 복 많이 받으시고요. 그러면 다음 블리즈컨 때 또 뵐 수 있었으면 좋겠네요. 안녕.
요새 이렇게 코로나 때문에 전 세계적으로 많이 힘든 시기인데 다 같이 이렇게 힘냈으면 좋겠고 꼭 이겨낼 수 있다고 생각을 하기 때문에 조금이나마 이렇게 도움이 되셨으면 좋겠고요. 이제 남은 블리즈컨 이벤트 같이 더 즐겨주시고 저는 스타크래프트2 게이머 파팅 원인삭이었습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us here at BlizzConline. It was a lot of fun to see these matches. And of course, even though StarCraft is such a competitive franchise and it's had some of the best esports moments of all time, it's cool to see the players come here and duke it out in some friendly matches.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun here today, but don't forget to tune in tomorrow for day number 2 of BlizzConline. We're going to have the in-game UGC showcase, community showcase, and the wonderful Carbot at work.
We love you guys so much. Stay safe, keep wearing a mask, washing your hands, and we'll see you guys next year. Bye-bye.
It's a dream of probably every single player.
StarCraft changed my life a lot.
My biggest goal is to actually win a tournament.
You have to put your life towards achieving that goal. This is what champions do.
And Stats is pushing on through. Oh, he does get a good catch on these High Templars, but there's not enough. I think Stats is doing it. Is he moving on? Yes!
Zest unable to hang on. The non-stop flood of wings. GG!
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzConline. Watch Shock vs. the World in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, only in the Dolby Access app. Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzConline.
Every year, the Arena World Championship in Mythic Dungeon International hosts the highest level PvP and PvE competitions Azeroth has ever seen. And this next year will be no different. In 2020, we introduced to the AWC circuit, a round-robin format that pinned the 8 best teams in North America and Europe to battle over 4 weekends. We are thrilled to announce the return of the AWC circuit in Shadowlands, with 2 seasons in 2021. Even the most seasoned arena veterans started online, and so can you. The road to Gladiator is open, but only for those willing to take on the challenge. To get started, queue up and find your team, then head over to our registration.
Talks back and forth, play testing, and things like that. A big challenge we had too was categorizing, all those 300 character skills to see how each of them really play, to see what challenges there were. And yeah, like Rob mentions, the Necromancer Iron Golem is a favorite of ours to continuously talk about because of the various ways it can target. Also, like a Sorcerer's Telekinesis is another example.
Watching the trailer, we see the Assassin and Druid at the campfire. We see a Druid casting Tornado. I have to ask though, even still, this includes Lord of Destruction, right? This is going to be a full encompassing remaster and not just classic or just a piece?
That's correct. Yeah, we are going to be including both the base Diablo 2 and the expansion Lord of Destruction as well. And we're even keeping the mode of playing non-expansion character as well, right? So you could still play a classic Barbarian, for example, and things like that.
Okay, awesome. Because that was something I was also going to ask was, will there be classic mode? Because once again, when you go to the purist, you always have the people that go back all the way and they're like, classic is pure and that's it, and I won't play anything else.
Yeah, it was very much a mode we wanted to keep. Even based on popularity, it might not be as much, but it's still a part of the game, and it still leads to interesting ways of playing too, right? A lot of it's even data driven too, so like a lot of the reasons to keep it were pretty clear to us. Like, let's make sure we're not taking something away from this remaster.
I'd love to go ahead and start talking about some of the other features, or continue talking about some of the other features that you had mentioned before, because hearing each of these already has gotten me so excited for this game. And so what are some other little things that you felt could be changed, wouldn't change the whole flow of the game, but just improve it a little bit?
One thing we're looking into is making it easier to interact with your stash. So having quick keys to move to your stash is one thing versus like dragging the mouse to every time you want to move something to your stash. Other things we're looking at as well are like an item comparison tooltip. So in case you're looking at some other item, you can hold Shift or whatever controller button is mapped, and then you can see what equipped items you have just for quick glances, things like that.
The item comparison is a great example of us adding it, but added it with a measured hand. So we don't suggest any gear for anybody. The gear in Diablo 2 is so quirky and different, and every class can use everything, that us recommending things like that actually was more confusing to people. So you hold Shift and it's like, here's what you got equipped, here's what it is.
I think that's the great way to do it with Diablo 2, because I agree. I mean, I think that's one of the best parts about Diablo 2. The items are so fantastic, so unique in their own design, that it would be near impossible to have a tooltip that could actually recommend one or the other, you know, because it's all so unique to every situation and character and skill build and everything.
We added 5 more languages, so that's a feature to a lot of people who speak those other languages. The whole front end is pretty much modernized now, so your character is much bigger front and center right in the beginning, and you'll have a backdrop of whatever act you're in. So that's all been streamlined. You can still, play online or offline, but that flow has been improved.
So what are your favorite changes that each of you have within the game so far?
There's a lot of fun. It's fun to see a lot of the art come to life with our new visuals. So for me, one of the things I've been waiting for since first starting on this game was to see that character creation campfire scene come to life in our new arts, and I'm really happy to see how far it's progressed, and I love seeing that. It's just such an iconic moment. It's the first thing you really see in the game before you get started, and it's amazing.
Can I say all the art? No, I'm just kidding. So we added, like Rob mentioned, we added an act specific screen in the front end. And it's basically this large screen where we have like a diorama of each act, and it's amazing to see because it feels like you're really there. Like you can see the detail, you can see every aspect of the scene, and it just has that very immersive feeling to it. So that's probably my favorite part.
I think mine is a little bit more squishy. I think our game has gotten a little scarier. I think that there are certain areas in the game where just the way that the 3D lighting is and the way the sound is, and I play it on a big screen TV sometimes, and just it feels scarier, it feels creepier, a little more claustrophobic in certain areas. That's not just one feature, there's a lot of things going on there, but I think it's really, really cool. I would like to hope that had the original creators had the tools we have today, it's the experience they would have wanted to make.
Yeah, I think the lighting really helps with that too, because we're a 3D game. That's one of the biggest differences between the original games. So what the game had before with the sprites, with 3D models built into sprites, was not a true real-time lighting system. So because we're pushing that with a 3D graphics engine running on top of the game and getting actual 3D lighting inside of those kinds of caverns and corridors makes for a very interesting experience now, because it just feels more immersive with having light react around you like that.
Yeah, I would definitely say, I mean, I've only seen the trailer piece you sent me, but even from that, just seeing down in the tunnels or the sewers or, any of those like you said, cavern, dungeonous zones, the lighting, it was darker and brighter, and then things like the skeletons with the fire, it just had this different, I agree, creepier feel. So I haven't seen much more than, or anything more than you guys showed me, but there was definitely a different feel to the game, and I loved the fire the most. I think just watching the sorceress meteor was gorgeous.
Fire and lightning, once we got all the effects up and running, that was definitely a couple of times where we would be just in a review and we're and 10 minutes would go by and we're like, oh crap, we had a meeting, we were just playing now. Another thing that kind of goes without saying, that just because it's parody, but 8-player multiplayer, that just works. But once again, it was tricky to get that going.
So with multiplayer, are there going to be any changes, any differences in there from PvP to trading to how players interact, you know, units blocking each other, and I mean, all sorts of stuff.
So with multiplayer, we want to keep all the features you've known and loved there. So PvP will still be there, down to like opening the party window and engaging hostility. Trading is still going to function the same as you know. You know, you can go into games, trade items, or talk in chat channels and things like that. Areas of improvement, though, like I said, going back to my mentioning of reimagining a lot of the UI, improvements to the Battlement lobby. So we're trying to look at some things like improving like how you browse server games. Like, so when you're looking at a game to join and typing passwords and things like that, that's the kind of area we're trying to see how we could smooth out in ways like making sure you can browse normal games, Nightmare games, and Hell games, even though you've graduated to the higher difficulty. I'm sure you've known that.
There's nothing worse than accidentally killing Bale in Nightmare when you're trying to do Nightmare Bale runs and you're like, I can't find any of the games anymore for Nightmare Bale runs.
But you can if you log into a separate character.
Right, you go to a separate character and then look at it.
That was kind of our logic, right? Since there are workarounds there, that made it easier for us to make the decision of allowing some of those things. Another change is also looking into reducing ladder seasons overall. So right now, ladder seasons in Diablo 2 are 6 months, and we're looking at reducing that as well to help have more engagement and kind of drive more incentives too. You know, 6 months is a long time, and we're looking into like if we make it shorter, we could probably have greater beats throughout the year, as well as seeing people strive harder for getting like that to that level 99, right?
So is there going to be any reward change on that, or will it just simply be, you know, the same standard? You get to 99, you're 99 on that leaderboard, and I mean that's a giant reward in itself. But I don't know if there's any other piece go up on the Battle.net website or something.
We're not looking into adding anything beyond what the game really did, but in some ways there will be some things that kind of come out of because of what we changed. So we have the leaderboard, right, where you can see each class going to level 99. There are easier ways to filter through that. And we're also looking into saving that, right? So you can always look back to previous seasons as well. So in a way, we're creating that kind of legacy now that has kind of been dropped from the past. So that's one advantage, is your names could be there in the legacy if you're looking in the past.
I mean, I think that would be cool enough. Just anything to keep it there as like a forever. Like this was season 1, season 2, you know? Like that's when I got my 89. Because I know a lot of people like to go and reflect kind of on their old characters and pushes and stuff like that.
Character expiration will not be a thing anymore, by the way. Due to modern Battle.net integrations, we do not have to. You will not have to worry about refreshing your character, so they will stay with you.
Awesome. Will there be anything different with like character names then, if that's the case?
Oh, yeah. So this was one that we talked about for a very, very long time. So because we are moving to global servers and we have cross progression, we will allow duplicate names because with everyone being in the same thing across all consoles and all platforms and other things like that, you would very quickly bump into duplicates like day one. And so we are allowing duplicate names. However, they will also be appended with your gamer tag or your Battle.net ID or other things like that, so that you are still unique. But this also allows us for people to play the game quicker, because we can autofill in your name, other things like that.
Rob touched on it a little bit, but another mention there was going to global servers as well. So this is a new thing we're doing, where the concept of US West, US East, Asia regions, and EU are no longer going to be a thing in terms of like being on separated servers. So now, for the push for a global play with Diablo 2, you can now be able to join across people around the world.
I think that's a fantastic change. That's always been one of the like saddest parts, is like they're on EU and I'm on, you know, US East, and then my other friend's on US West, and it's like, how do we get us all together? You know, like, okay, somebody has to make a sacrifice there. And so that seems like a really positive change. So far, you guys are killing it. I'm loving absolutely. I just want to say, like, I'm loving all of the changes and all of the decisions that have been made. It feels like you're really respecting the integrity of the game, but really bringing in a lot of that quality of life, because Diablo 2 just had some of those pain points like muling and separate servers and all of that. So I just want to throw that out there really quick.
There's a lot of love and care going on into this. Like we're very passionate about Diablo 2, you know. I can even give you a little anecdote of when I started on the team. I was asking around too. Naturally, as a designer, I want to know as much as possible about this game in order to make good decisions on a remaster. So I asked around, like, what kind of files and leftover archives do we have from before, from Blizzard North? And I was told, like, I was given some, and like this, I was told that was it, which I quickly disbelieved, because I like to just do my own little digging arounds to find out things. So I dug around a lot in a lot of archives, and I looked around in different teams as well, because naturally a game from 20 years ago, people have moved on different teams, and like where has data moved around across our other games across Blizzard. So it was within folders, I like to say, that I found a lot of old source files from Diablo 2. A lot of things, like within folders of saying stuff we should archive. And there was a lot of stuff to archive indeed, because there are a lot of things, like we're talking like model source files, old tools that Blizzard North used to create like the sprites and things like that. All these things I spent months and months organizing and communicate that out to the team, and help getting Blizzard library team and other people to help out too, to help share as much information as possible, which helps a lot with when we're adapting some of these models and whatnot and making new art out of it, because, you know, sometimes those pixels aren't good enough, and if we have some kind of source model to look at, if we have it, now we can make even closer decisions.
On that day when he found that, I think that really helped me greatly. Like, we sent all of that imagery, even the models, I think we sent over to the outsource teams and different art teams, which they used as like a stepping stone. The only piece of art we actually reused one-to-one were Tyrael's wings. So we actually took the Tyrael wings from the old Max file, and then just repurposed that for ours. Like, we did very little work, very little modernization of that. We just made it work. But yeah, we did follow a lot of the rules that the old game actually used. For like another example is the succubus, in which I think the old Blizzard North model, they reused the assassin mesh for the body, and we did the same thing. We use our assassin mesh for the succubus.
Yeah, a lot of fun discoveries that we're actually kind of making the same decisions on in interesting ways. Another example too, like, is because we found a lot of stuff. There's a lot of old texture files for some environments on the game. So another example is like the walls you see in the Act 2 tombs. With those kinds of like paintings on them are the same textures we're using, because we found the source files for those.
Any symbology we have questions on, we always like jump into that archive, try to find some kind of source or reference or something, and we just reuse it as much as possible. We want this to be as true as possible.
That could even carry over to the cinematics too, you know, like a lot of the cinematics cover the same locations. Think of like Tal Rasha's tomb with Baal in front of it, and there's all those runes going on behind him. Finding sources like that to try to match as much as possible was a goal, and I'm glad to say we did find those kinds of things, and they're matching it very well. So it's helping our cinematics too.
There was even concepts we repurposed. Like, we found a couple concepts that were amazing from 20 years ago, the Bloodhawk and the Bloodhawk Nest, and we used that completely to rebuild our new asset.
I mean, that's fascinating. I feel like I could just sit here for hours and hours, days, as you guys talk through every single thing you found in the source files.
I could too. I'm still organizing it to this day. I still could find something that could work out. As I put it, I'm very meticulous with this stuff because I love it so much. You know, I'm putting, like, categorizing everything. Like, this is everything I found on War Eve. This is everything I found on the Greater Mummy Monster or Baal or something. And then if Chris comes to me and needs help with like some kind of way of identifying what parts of the creatures are or something, I even go through lengths of like seeing if I could open up those models. And actually re-rendering them out in a way that we could actually see it in higher detail, and like, you know, see like what like, oh, the Greater Mummy is showing like part of his bone on his knee, so we should try to match that or something like that. And there's a lot of interesting stories and references that we actually used to create the new art by re-rendering models out to see everything.
Yeah, it was literally like video game archaeology. And even learning how parts of D1 were made, parts of the code that were commented out. Totally geek out on just all of the, because it's a game that we all kind of grew up in, and a lot of us got into the games industry because of these types of games, and this game in particular, right? Like, yeah. And so it's almost like we're treating it like a classic car, right? Like, okay, it probably shouldn't run on leaded gas anymore, but you really can't change it, right? You just got to make it, good enough, even better, than they remember, and good for another 20 years.
Yeah, and even like, mention of Diablo 1 is very key too. Like we look at Diablo 1 as well, because naturally this being a sequel to Diablo 1, especially within the time span of when it came, like Diablo 1, was 1996 and Diablo 2, 2000. A lot of things carried over throughout development. So going back to see Diablo 1 and what it's like also helped us make decisions, even some of the arts too, because like we discovered certain things we didn't even realize before until later down the line. Like an example is in the Chaos Sanctuary, you see a lot of statues with these black knights, and those are actually the same Chaos Knights you see in Diablo 1. So like sometimes some of the things I find, even source files from Diablo 1, were useful for us for reference, so we can make the new statues and thing like that.
Even the Sorcerer and the Act 3 Hireling shared very similar models. Like it was just an addition helmet or a little bit of detail on the chest, but that was really the difference.
You guys need to do a just like developer archaeology discussion at some point where you just sit down and talk through all of this, because this is like the most fascinating stuff I've heard. I mean, I've played so much Diablo 2 that I know so many intricacies of the game, but like when there's like more to be discovered, it's like, oh man, I'm like itching to know. So I would love to just listen.
The funny thing is, like, going back to our like core philosophies on the game, like, we wanted to keep discovery and the mystery and stuff. Because you keep discovering things all the time when you play Diablo 2, like all these little hidden rules and informations. It kind of carries that fascination over through development as well. Like we find a lot of things in the code, design documents, models, things like that, that were really fascinating to see like how they were made. And I learned something new every day on the projects.
One thing, shifting back to the online play here, I know there's definitely going to be questions around security. How are we handling duping? How are we handling bots? How are we handling, just anything around that, realm downs, and all of the disconnects and all of that good stuff that we deal with online? What's being taken, or what actions being taken there?
So moving over to modern BattleNet helps us with a lot of those types of things. To say it's Loctite, I wouldn't dare do that. That's like throwing a gauntlet down to the community to try to break it. But all of that should be far more secure now. Now, we do still allow you to play offline, right? You will need to authenticate that your copy is legit, but after that, you won't be bothered. And so there's a reason why we leave those characters quarantined away from online.
I mean, yeah, we have a server team working on it, and these are some of their efforts, right? We want to stop the bots, stop duping as much as possible. There's a lot of strives happening in the back end of things.
So I'm excited to play this game, and I'm sure a lot of other people are very excited. How can we sign up for this closed beta, and when will this game be coming out?
Actually, we will be doing a technical alpha, and you can sign up on our webpage today for future waves of invites. As for the game itself, it will be releasing 2021.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the remastering team right here. I absolutely am blown away by how much effort and how much passion you guys are putting into this game and just into Diablo 2. I've loved Diablo 2 for 20 years, and I never thought that the game could get better. But I think you guys are respecting the integrity while upgrading and adding and improving. And I think this is going to overall just better the game. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you having me on and for all of the hard work you've done.
Awesome. Thank you. I mean, your praise means the world to us. I mean, you and people like you who keep the game going for 20 years. Like, that's, if you guys didn't do that, this might not be happening, right? We see the passion in what you do, in what your colleagues do. Like, so thank you even more. And thanks for coming to do this. This was fun.
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzConline. Watch Shock vs. the World in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, only in the Dolby Access app. Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzConline.
안녕하세요, 마법입니다. 전 세계에서 시청 중인 블리자드 팬 여러분, 저희가 세계적인 블리즈컨의 무대에 이렇게 찾아뵙게 돼서 정말 영광입니다.
네, 저희가 블리즈컨에서 공연한다고 하니까 주변의 친구들이 너무너무 부러워하더라고요. 한국에서 블리자드 인기는 정말 대단하다고 합니다.
네, 블리자드의 30주년 정말 축하드립니다. 앞으로 블리자드 게임할 땐 누구?
마마무!
예. 저희 음악과 함께 해주세요. 감사합니다.
네, 그럼 지금까지 아싸 마마무 마마무였습니다. 감사합니다.
customization first. And the road takes us to a whole new level.
We really want Overwatch 2 to feel like the next evolution, a true sequel to the first game.
After more than 20 years, the Dark Wanderer has returned.
From epic performers of BlizzCon's past, Metallica, to our endlessly talented voice actors.
I swear to my queen. Well, to quote my dear friend, nerf this. Oh, why is the shield not breaking, McCree?
To Blizzard founders.
I remember when there was a game out there that we liked, we always wanted to show that we could create something even better.
To the greatest StarCraft legends of all time.
This is such a devastating amount of damage. It is worthwhile.
We hope you've enjoyed the show today. Again, please check out the activities waiting for you on BlizzCon.com and join the discussion on your favorite social media channel. Tomorrow is all about leaning into our global community, starting with responses to your questions and comments from today. Then our truly amazing community showcase built from all the epic brilliance of all of you. We hope we have segments planned that capture your interest. And if you happen to love Diablo and/or D&D, please check out our truly customized and intriguing Critical Role campaign.
The air, and it's about to bring it down before it freezes solid, and then as the coins hit it, it breaks away into thousands of tiny frozen bone fragments.
Thanks for tuning in to day one of BlizzConline. See you tomorrow.